So, yeah, I don't know, man. Veronica and I have been having some issues at home.
Hey,
lately.
still the bedroom thing.
I'm fucking sleeping on the couch now.
Yeah, fuck.
Yeah, she's.
She's a few years younger than you, so so there's like you get conflicts like that sometimes. You
I
know.
don't know about this time, bud.
Yeah. Hey, Carol and I get through rough patches sometimes too. It's
Home base, the Chinese consulate is on the move. We're 2 progressing with Russian envoy out the rear exit.
Roger that station. The pig is in the hen house. Yeah, man, Carol and I have problems like that too sometimes, man.
Well, I mean, if I can be 100% honest with you, I actually she sent a lawyer over with some divorce papers. She's talking about taking the kids.
Oof.
Yeah,
That's tough. Hey, man, well, you work for the FBI, maybe it's definitely going to be like at least a couple of things that you can maneuver. We've got a legal department.
Smooth sailing down Elm. Home base, light traffic, local police clearing residential thoroughfare.
Roger that station. The monkey's eating a banana split. Yeah, we've got a whole legal department that'll help you
yeah.
out.
Honestly, I'm at a point where like, if she wants to go, she can go. But she's gonna take Biff and Veronica Jr. I can't live without my kids, man.
I still can't believe you named that kid Veronica Jr.
I'm sorry, I'm crying. I just get emotional whenever. I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do, man.
Following behind, agent intercept on the 10. Traffic getting heavier. Home base, let's get those flankers up ahead and see what's going on.
Roger station. Number 4 with a large side of onion rings en route. Agents, move up to the flank and see what the commotion is, please. Well, I'm sorry for your troubles, bud. Yeah, that's a big deal. But hey, how about this weekend? This weekend we don't have a shift on Sunday,
Yeah.
so let's go on out to Cabo San Lucas. We'll get we'll get some hookers, some blow. Have a good weekend.
That would actually be really good.
It's cool. I've got evidence locker full of the shit. We'll have a great time.
I think that would be.
It's getting hairy out here, boys. The protesters are starting to get agitated. We may need some backup.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, station, got it. We got your Mama Pajama coming at you with a ham sandwich. Yeah, it'll be great. We'll bust into the evidence locker. We'll get some blow. There's they got some ecstasy that we just.
That's actually really, honestly, that's really good because that's a perfect alibi for because I already talked to the department head and we've actually got some guys that are maybe going to go take care of it.
Oh, take care of it. Take care of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sure
So
that's not a
if
little? It's not a little rash.
I mean, we do this shit all the time.
We got movement on the 10. Hostiles converging.
Jesus.
Flanking agents.
Whoa.
Get in there now. Protect the consulate.
Jesus, station. Yeah. Fuck. We got silver dollar pancakes with Canadian bacon and a cup of coffee coming up your ass. Flanking agents. Will you see what the fuck he's talking about, please? Well, I mean,
what a
hey,
fucking dick.
maybe there won't be. Yeah, this fucking guy, right? Like every goddamn
Always
time with it.
So fucking dramatic.
Jesus
about
Christ, the fucking routine convoy.
shit. Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, okay. Well, you want to just take care of it. You and I will be out of town.
We'll
I
be
could
in
even
Cabo.
I could get headquarters to get us a couple of hotel rooms.
Yeah.
Say that we're out there for some sort of tech
I'll
work
make
or
sure to
some
show
shit
my
like
face
that.
and-
Yeah.
Shots fired. Taking fire. The envoy's down. The snake is biting the ankle. Home base. Taking heavy fire.
Damn it, my ears.
God damn, chill out. We've got backup coming up. The cheese is on the nachos or something. Fuck. This fucking guy, are you serious?
It's fucking
Like
blew
every
out my
time,
fucking
you
ear.
remember the last time that we had one of these things going on, and he fucking there was a whole oh god, the children, fucking Jesus Christ, just to blow the shit up and get the fuck out of there.
I
What
think
do we
he's
give
in
a
a
fuck?
fucking movie. He acts like he's in a
Jesus
fucking movie
Christ.
all the time. You ever notice the way he acts? He's fucking like it's goddamn trying to win a fucking Oscar.
Home base. Agent down. Blood. So much blood.
Oh, shit.
God. I don't want to die.
Ooh.
boy.
Young. Station? You okay, bud? We got the you get the fuck. What's the code for that? Fuck.
I don't
You got the bird cage in the Chevrolet?
They're all dead. Oh, God. Tell my wife.
That's not good. He was
I,
married?
I didn't know that. What kind of what report do I need to pull up for that?
You know what?
40.
Whatever. Fuck it. Let's just cover it up. We'll say it was the Black Panthers or something.
Oh, that's
yeah.
a good idea. Yeah,
Cabo
yeah,
on Sunday. Cool. Let's get the fuck out
Fuck
of here.
yeah. What up, homies? Welcome back to Delete Everything Podcast.
What up, homies?
I know. I always do hey everybody and hey gang.
We're getting fresh.
Oh, what up, homies? Yeah, welcome back to Delete Everything Podcast, our clandestine organization dedicated to secretly infiltrating your brain and inserting the lost, forgotten, partial, deleted histories into your brain and just create chaos up there. I'm Patrick Wall.
I'm glad you're back on the research, bud.
and with me as ever is my secretive little mole,
Riley Bowen.
And we've got producer Drew mic'd up today too.
Yo.
No more mumbling from your little hidey hole over there.
Mumbling. I'm pretty sure I was screaming.
Well,
for
you're
most of
screaming,
that.
but it sounds like mumbling to the listener. As always, thanks to everyone who took a moment to leave us comments, ratings, reviews. If you have not done that yet, you got to get on that shit, dog.
Yeah, what the fuck? What the fuck?
Well, listen, we'll be happy.
You know how hard this is?
Yeah.
See what we're doing?
Yeah,
Dancing dancing like seals.
Right, riding a tricycle like a trained bear. We'll be happy. You'll be happy when we shout you out in the show, and then you can show all your friends and be like, look, these guys said a thing. And if you've ever listened to the show, you know that we are in the happiness business, which is why every episode is so inspiring and uplifting. And we definitely never ruin anything or, just completely fuck your preconceived notions.
I specifically only focus on the reality of things. If it's sad, it's sad. If it's happy, it's happy. It's not my job to dictate what is and is
how
not.
you fucking feel.
Yeah, what am I supposed to? I'm supposed to know how you fucking feel.
So also, if you want to send us a personal message or want to send some dick pics to producer Drew, delete everything podcast at gmail.com.
Please.
More.
I'm begging you.
Delete everything podcast at gmail.com is where you can get directly in contact with any one of the three of us or all three of us. So we also have some social media, other ways to support the podcast, and we will drop those into your little ear holes at the end of the show. So if you're good to go, let's jump into some fucking shady ass shit, yeah?
Hell yeah.
Hell
I love
yeah.
shady shit.
Riley, how you doing, buddy?
I feel strangely good.
Yeah, we had 3 weeks of walking on eggshells, and that's
it.
done.
Yeah. I'm glad to be free of the
weight
oppressive
off the shoulders,
the oppressive yoke of slavery, as it were.
Proverbially,
The oppressive yoke of studying and fucking just reading about slavery. Slavery sucks, man.
Oh, no, you don't say.
It was really hard for me to learn about slavery.
Hot take, ladies and gentlemen. First guy to say it.
I mean, me learning about it was so hard.
God damn it.
Is that what you guys were doing while I was gone for
Oh yeah,
all three of those
Drew,
weeks?
Drew wasn't here for those 3 episodes.
That was actually, anytime you heard Drew on those episodes, it was just a little tape recorder I had right next to the mic of things that it was Drew yelling at his kids, and I just stand in his house and record it.
I will say,
I'm not here. I'm not here.
I will say, as like,
Dad, can you read me a story? I'm not here.
I would say we're pretty well dialed in as a podcast now, but as it is still, everything's organic, so we're always like evolving. I think that our mutual sharing of the research burden is becoming a little more symbiotic.
Yeah.
Because I certainly don't want to fucking do 3 episodes in a row again.
We're going to find out if I even remember how to do research at this point, because that's the longest I've gone in nearly a year.
Yeah.
This.
I mean, like, I'll do an episode every now and then, and then you do
and
like
it's like
4,
a one. Yeah, it's
and
like a
then,
one.
yeah.
You've never done like 3 bop 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 in a row, and on top of that, Drew, you guys will not hear me bitching anymore about editing because Drew's been doing editing stuff.
Yeah,
so I had 3 weeks of just like
golden calf over here, Drew, producer Drew.
Seriously,
More.
I had 3 weeks of just like twiddling my thumbs, like, what do I do now? You were researching, Drew's editing, and I was like, this is what life used to feel like.
You deserved a little break.
Yeah.
Richard.
I enjoyed it, and I also enjoyed getting back to researching because I do love this part. I mean, it is cool.
It's fun.
It's time consuming, but it is cool.
Yeah, like I'm something interesting about doing the research is that like you couldn't know this if you weren't actually doing it, but your brain doesn't understand everything right away.
Yeah.
you gotta do the same research 3 or 4 times before you're like, okay, all right, I fucking get it.
Oh yeah.
I'm working on like a financial topic for like a bonus episode later right now, and I had no fucking idea what it meant the first like 4 times I read like what the topic was. I was like, what is
That's
the
just
fuck?
because of your financial illiteracy.
Yeah, I am
poor
really
fuck.
really dumb with number stuff. No, doesn't work for me.
I whenever I'm doing the research, I mean the number of tabs that I have open on my computer
endless,
is just
fucking
like
endless,
so
yeah.
many, and I'm constantly cycling through and reading and rereading, and or a lot of times going, fuck, which one was this? Oh, which article was this from? Which fucking
It's funny. It's a contemporary version of like being in like a darkened castle room full of scrolls, like Gandalf in Minas Tirith when he's researching the story of Isildur.
yeah,
You
I
know?
remember. Yeah,
He's just fucking
I
scrolls and dust.
I actually wasn't working a shift that day, but I heard about him coming in. That was an old guy joke. That was a dad joke and an old guy joke.
What?
Never mind.
I didn't get it either.
I didn't get it. You weren't in Minas Tirith.
That was the joke, was that I was. And I work in the scroll library, but I was off for that day
Oh,
That's a terrible.
because he's old.
because I'm very old.
I'm so
and
old that
also somehow coexist on a seperate plane in a fantasy realm.
Yeah.
Uh,
Me and
I
Bilbo Labinky hanging out.
I don't remember what the hell I was gonna say. I felt like I had a point there, but I was gonna say what the fuck was I gonna say?
I don't know. You fucked up.
You know what? That was a joke about me being old too. I remember exactly what I'm gonna say all the time.
What?
Where am I? Do you want to jump into this fucking shit?
What are we talking about?
We are talking about COINTELPRO.
I don't know what that is.
What is COINTELPRO? Very simply, it's an abbreviation of Counterintelligence Program.
Ooh.
COINTELPRO.
Like the game series Splinter Cell.
Yep. So good night, everybody.
Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell.
Yeah. No, obviously more complexly. So COINTELPRO was sort of an umbrella within the FBI that was used in the immediate wake of McCarthyism, right?
Was it like a special umbrella?
It was it was created by J. Edgar Hoover, who honestly we could do like fucking 4 hours on J. Edgar Hoover.
Clint Eastwood already did.
alone.
That movie is fucking eternal. Check out the movie J. Edgar if you want to watch a lot of gray suits
A lot
and
of-
office.
If you want to watch 4
office
hours of guys
buildings.
doing office work.
Yeah, just being like, I think that this paragraph should be shifted over to this other. And just a man getting older and working in an office. That's all.
Yeah.
Like
Never
J.
seen
Edgar
it.
is.
Well, so it was created immediately after sort of the whole McCarthyism era, and it was created by J. Edgar Hoover with the knowledge and consent of President Eisenhower. So, Hoover, if you need a little bit of background and you don't want to watch a 4-hour movie,
Inventor of the vacuum cleaner.
exactly, he was a big fan of suction and just wanted to. First dick joke.
Oh,
Back.
we're back, baby.
We haven't done a dick joke in like a month.
We didn't do a single dick joke in the last episode.
We did not in the
Fuck
last
yeah.
3 in all 3 of Underground Railroad. I
No,
don't
we
think
must
No,
have
there
snuck.
wasn't-
There was one
We
or
didn't.
two.
I don't think we snuck a dick joke in there.
I don't know, but
let's
let's-
dick joke in there.
The second or the third, you made a point and he didn't.
I don't,
Right.
But-
in the Patreons that we did around those episodes, it was just dick jokes.
Just literally,
we
about
literally
dicks.
just talked about dicks.
Which, to be fair, we do it a lot.
Yeah.
That's kind of, we could call our Patreon just Dick Talk with Patrick and Riley.
Actually, that's not bad. Maybe we should. We'll change it from the Patreon piddlies to dick talk.
Couple of dicks talking dicks.
Dicks on dicks.
These are like swords clanging, like a sword fight.
You're just thinking of the sound design.
Yeah, no, I'm on that shit right now.
So yeah, Drew's been sound designing quite a bit. If you haven't noticed how good the production value on our intros has gotten, that is
So fucking good?
That is, yeah, that is.
As we record this is the day that we released the Underground Railroad 2. And I must have listened to the intro to Underground Railroad 2 like 3 or 4
Yeah.
times. Just
The fucking train at the end. The train.
I like when we introduced John Brown as Old Man Murder, and then you hear the sword, and then the meat slicing sound.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
The upgrade in our intros is basically Drew sitting in a chair in front of his computer and Riley and I standing behind him going, do this, now do that. Now it would be cool if you did that. And
Can you
Drew's
you
just-
make the sound taper off at the end of that?
Put it at the end, not the beginning.
No, it should be like a longer one, a sound like an oboe.
And yeah, and Drew just sighing loud. And you go,
Yeah, fuck, okay.
Yeah, got it.
When do we start getting paid?
As soon as we start getting paid.
Yeah. We put this out for the listeners. They don't answer back currently, so you're gonna have to. Anyway,
Yeah, ask them.
so a little bit of background on J. Edgar Hoover, right? So Hoover was in U.S. intelligence for 48 years under. Actually, this is inaccurate. Under 10 different fucking presidents.
That's a lot of presidents.
He was bureau manager for 8 different presidents. He came in the fucking Woodrow Wilson presidency and didn't leave till Nixon. Well, died during the Nixon. Was still the head of the fucking FBI when he died of a heart attack. So he arguably started the FBI as we literally started the FBI as we know it. He was initially appointed by Calvin Coolidge. So he had already been in what was called he was sort of in like different branches of the Bureau of Investigation, which was the precursor to the FBI, right?
That's the G-men, the old school
Pinkertons,
Pinkertons, old school fucking black coats, just pressed suits and hats.
That's the Bureau of Investigation, right? So he was there for a few years. He started there when he was like 22 years old as like an intern, and moved his way up. Calvin Coolidge appointed him to lead the BOI, and he was there with the BOI for 11 years before that was folded, and they kind of retooled the whole thing and turned it into the FBI.
Back in the day, if you were like just like a detective, say you've been a detective on like the Baltimore police force for so many years, and you get the call from like the Bureau of Investigation, like 1910 or 1915, and like you're like, I'm gonna get called up to the big leagues. You must have felt so fucking badass.
Yeah. You're hot shit. You're hot shit on the block.
Listen, I'm not just a detective. I'm a detective with the Bureau of Investigation.
Yeah,
I need to see your client list, and I need to see it now.
If I got hired by the FBI tomorrow, that's how I would start talking. My name is Patrick Wall with the Bureau of Investigation. Here's my what are you talking about, badge?
I need to know where you were the night of March 11th. I need to know now.
So we talk a lot in this podcast about how this country isn't that old, right? It's a pretty common theme.
It's just a little baby.
A
little stinky, poopy, tantrum throwing baby.
So additional perspective on that, because we've done this a lot. Additional perspective on that is if we had an FBI from day one when this country started, right? From the outset. And if every director was there for 48 years, like Hoover was, we would like literally the 5th person to ever direct the FBI would have just wrapped up a little over a year ago. 48 years from day one, bop, 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 all in order. We would have just finished our 5th one and started a 6th one. That's how young this fucking country is.
Still pretty young.
Yeah.
We don't like to say it. Well, we like to say it. We say it every episode. But in this country, we don't like to recognize how fucking brand new everything is.
Yeah.
Because we've managed to fuck the continent up pretty hard in a relatively brief span of time.
I was watching a video earlier today where somebody was talking about all the brick architecture in St. Louis, because St. Louis was one of the big cities that made a ton of like when the West was expanding, all those bricks. A lot of those came from, they were fully bricked up in St. Louis. Yeah. Because they have the clay that they have there makes for really strong bricks and really pretty red and all that shit. So, and she was like, yeah, the city all this stuff is so old. It's a really old city from like, these houses are built in like 1820s, 1830s. And I'm like, that's not that old.
Not.
200 years in the grand scheme of things.
Not even yet.
200 years, yeah.
About, 1820s.
1830s, yeah.
200 years ain't dick.
Round
go to Ireland.
Yeah, right.
Like, this is my house. It's 350 years old. It's been in my family since
350 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Go to Edinburgh, Scotland, and it's like this.
Yeah, let's see this. Yeah. University of Edinburgh. I've been here since Jesus.
Fucking, well, not that long.
No, but yeah, it was a long ass time.
So I digress. Hoover was pretty dodgy.
Barely know her.
Hoover was a pretty dodgy motherfucker from the start, and obviously only got worse as time went on, and sort of he consolidated more power and stuff like that. And I don't want to dwell on Hoover like exclusively in this episode. It's not about him, but his presence and his history are super important contextually to particularly how COINTELPRO was started and how it evolved through the years. And honestly, like the two are inextricable from one another because he was calling the shots for all the fucked up shit. So Hoover, I mean, the name of this episode is going to be, J. Edgar Hoover and COINTELPRO probably because we're going to keep hitting Edgar Hoover.
What is the meaning of covert intelligence?
Well, this is counterintelligence program.
What is the meaning of counterintelligence?
Well, I will tell you, Riley, because we're about to get in there. Like I said, Hoover, shifty dude from the get-go. He had a
real smart about counters.
He had a very
waxing them, cleaning them. You got wood counters. You got laminate.
This one's butcher block.
Got tile counter. Got a granite.
But Hoover,
granite.
Ooh.
Stupid.
Marble. That's that rich people shit.
Oh yeah.
Boy, oh boy.
Slate. New England slate is a particular favorite of mine.
Did you hit quartz? I didn't hear anybody say quartz.
What's a quartz countertop? That's terrible.
A lot of people get quartz.
That's stupid.
Why?
What the fuck, quartz? Why? You scratch the shit out of quartz.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't it rather
That's
weak?
easily scratchable.
Mm-mm. Just as tough as granite.
No, yeah, but okay, so quartz is going to be shiny and sparkly, so it'll get scratched, and granite will get scratched too, but that's okay because granite ages with the scratches and looks cool. The same as slate. Slate you can
quartz
chip,
does
you
too.
can scratch, but it has like a weathered look to it that's good. Quartz, no, it's got to look fresh. Or nah.
I don't know. Anyway. So quartz countertops came about in the... No. Like I said, Hoover, dodgy dude from the start, right? He had a very flexible view of the Constitution and constitutional law. He was, I will say, we talk about how people are dichotomous by nature and you got to take the good with the bad. So he was responsible for some good things. The federal fingerprinting database was created by him.
Mm-hmm.
Federal forensics lab created by him. He also created the FBI index, AKA the blacklist.
Mm.
Heard it's a terrible show. Never seen it. But
James Spader?
James Spader. Yeah.
I haven't seen it either.
He
Which
also...
one is Spader?
Spader's the blacklist. Spader, Ultron.
Oh, well, it's just his voice, right?
Well, in Ultron, yeah.
Yeah.
But in the blacklist is his
I can't
his
think
show.
of what else he's in. I know he's in a bunch of
I
stuff.
know the
but-
name. I can't
Less
put a
than
face to it.
zero.
Nope.
The secretary.
Nope.
Sex Lies and Videotape.
Nope.
I mean, I just got. He was the later seasons of The Office, replacing
He
Steve
was in
Carell.
later seasons of The Office.
Spader, barely know her. Well, you want me to keep doing this? I can do it all day.
I know.
All right. Forget it.
Anyway, he also did Hoover, not James Spader. He also did a lot of fucked up shit. Like when he first took over the BOI, he fired all of the women agents and created a policy where he banned any future hiring of women as agents.
That seems like really counterproductive.
They could still be secretaries.
It's crazy. You just fire a bunch of
Like-
people selectively based on
how
what gender. They might as well be doing it based on race.
well. You think about like World War II and how some female agents were like heavily involved.
Mhm.
I think in like Nazi Germany and all that. And
I'm
you would-
not sure about how much counterintelligence went up, but I mean, probably.
I don't know.
Also,
maybe
like,
I'm just getting movies mixed up
if
with
you're- if
reality.
you're-
but it would seem to me
well, they would be
that,
CIA agents because that's
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
but-
just saying like agents in general. But
Right.
it would seem to me that if you're
Asians in general. Jesus Christ, Drew.
God, no, that was that whole thing the past 3 weeks, 2 weeks ago now. Never mind.
It's all his idea.
It's fuck. It would seem to me that that could, having
If you're doing
female agents would be an asset.
if you're doing covert operatives
Sure.
or covert operations or espionage
Sting,
operations,
whatever. Yeah.
having men and women gives you a better, if you're figuring out how you're going to infiltrate,
a little more
things, then yeah.
flexibility.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You
So,
know,
No,
he's a
yeah,
fucking
no.
idiot.
No, I mean, obviously, it was a male-dominated society at the time anyway.
That's true.
Yeah, it would have been good to have, like, lady spies, but I don't think that's, what most of the capacity was. The Bureau of Investigation wasn't all going to be spies.
I know.
Right.
I know that.
You're
but-
talking about like the 30s though, so
Yeah.
I mean, it was still also post women's suffrage, But like most ladies are still, stay-at-home moms, or they're like secretaries or teachers,
Yeah.
stuff like, or nurses.
Or a two-fisted journalist.
We're not in, at this point when he takes over the BOI, we're not in World War II yet, where ladies had to pick up the slack and work a lot of man jobs because all the men are fucking on the beaches in Normandy. I was chomping a cigar when I said that.
Yeah.
So he notoriously, through the 20s and 30s, denied the existence of organized crime in the U.S., during fucking Prohibition.
During the Gangland Empire?
When the mafia
Al
got rich
Capone?
and expanded like hugely due to sales of fucking bootleg
Fucking
liquor.
Mickey Cohen in Los Angeles. Like,
And
babyface Gambino.
And by the way, the reasons for this are subject to quite a bit of debate, right? On one hand, it may have been because the mafia was feeding him horse racing tips through there was like a reporter that he would talk to all the time, and they would feed him horse racing tips to give to J. Edgar Hoover. J. Edgar Hoover was a notorious horse racing gambler. Like, he would send agents to the track to go place bets for him.
I don't think it's a good thing to have an
FBI agent going and doing
betting the house on the ponies, like a gambling addict.
off of a tip from the reporter.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, I gotta find this, I gotta find these kidnappers.
I got a hot tip from a reporter.
But I need
go bet on the ponies for me, boy.
Yeah, put 200 on Slippy Sloppy in the ninth.
I love that. Have you ever watched like the Kentucky Derby or the Preakness or any of that? Like when they're doing it, like with the commentary.
Yeah.
And like all the horses are named like the most elaborate, crazy shit that just like, it's like coming around the third corner, a long drive down the highway with my mistress giving me a BJ. And but then like when they win, they say like what the owners call them completely different names. It's like, oh, Bubbles looks like a happy guy today. He won. He doesn't know he won, but he won the Preakness this year. And it's like, on to the Belmont Stakes. I don't know if that's the right order, but
some shit like
don't
that.
fucking at me.
Coming around the corner, 57 Cadillac with the Vermont license plates, but it's a horse.
And that whole thing is the name.
Yeah. But it's a horse.
Yeah, exactly. It's all in there with a comma, like perfect punctuation and everything. That shit always cracks me up though, because every time when they win, that's when suddenly like the commentators drop the act and they start calling him like,
closing in on Grandma's underpants is it was the best of times, it was the worst of times.
It was the best of times, it was the horst of times.
Yes.
But then, like I said, whenever
Bilbo Oat Baggins closing in on
You'd say Bill Boat.
Bilbo Oat Baggins.
Bilbo, okay.
But
Bilbo Baggins.
like I said, whenever they win, like once they go, that name goes from some crazy elaborate shit to, oh, the owners love Charlie. Charlie just won it. We're gonna get Charlie a bunch of carrots tonight. So anyway.
Coming around the corners, the entirety of Howl by Allen Ginsberg.
That would be a cool name, actually. I would fucking bet. Never even bet on horses. I would bet on that horse. So that's one theory for why he literally like for decades turned a blind eye to mob activity. On the other hand, the other side of the debate, it is said that the mafia had unsavory photographs of him and his FBI protege and deputy director Clyde Tolson, which then takes us into the allegations that, Hoover was a cross-dresser. And honestly, that would explain a lot about the quote unquote subversives that he spent most of his fucking life pursuing. I don't know how much our listeners, I'm not to say anything about you, but how much anybody knows about J. Edgar Hoover, but that's like a big rumor. Like if you read anything about it, that comes up pretty quickly, right?
You like to dress up in ladies' clothes.
Allegedly. It's, by most accounts, it's debunked. So a lot of it has to do, like a lot of the sort of intrigue around his life is the fact that he was never married.
Mm-hmm.
He was super close to Clyde Tolson.
Who's Clyde Tolson?
I just told you.
Oh, his protege?
Yeah, his protege.
How close was he? Would you be able to like fit them in a closet together?
I mean, like to the point where they, like well documented, they would ride to work together. They'd leave work together. They'd go on lunch like every day. They'd leave for lunch and like go somewhere together.
Walk holding hands until they got to the malt shop
they'd
and then
go-
drink one milkshake with 2 straws.
They'd go on business and
They go on business ventures out onto the lake with a pedal
they'd
boat.
go on a fucking they'd get on the business end of a dick.
They were detectives, yeah.
They-
Bureau of Investigation. Dick is short for detective.
Uh,
And they were hard dicks.
No, they would take like FBI related trips, but also like vacations together. Like they were very inseparable. So, and we'll get into more of that in a bit. So,
Honey, there's a double murder in Philadelphia.
get up.
Come
Come
on.
on. We have to go. No, it's so like I said, it has a lot to do with the fact that he was never married. He was super close with Tolson.
Did he ever say anything about the allegations of cross-dressing?
I think that came out after he was already passed away.
'Cause
So
I know that people that deny that heavily, like just like no,
Well-
are usually
But part of it stems from the fact that among Hoover's many fucked up things that he did, times being what they were, a lot of times to discredit someone publicly, he would accuse them of being a homosexual, right?
Ooh,
Because
yeah.
oh boy, So and that would either discredit somebody or he'd bend a lot of major figures over his desk to his will, So just a lot of times, man, all he had to do was really just threaten, because
no.
once he
He
gets
was
to a
the head of
position,
the fucking Bureau of Investigation.
once he's there for a long time, and once he gets to a position of power, and once he's been in a position of power, but once it really gets out that like, don't fuck with Hoover, like he's probably got dirt on you.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, if he's accusing you of being a homosexual, he could just be like, I'm going to assign 4 men to a case investigating whether or not you're a homosexual and make that very public, because that investigation will fucking ruin you.
Yeah, seriously.
That's like if a detective had an open book case on you being a pedophile. Like
Jesus
it
Christ.
doesn't matter whether
Doesn't
or not
matter
there's
whether you're
any
not- yeah,
evidence.
yeah.
You're fucked.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that.
If that especially if that is made public,
Yeah.
whether you could be completely innocent. By the way, some of those things are going to come into play a little bit further down in this episode.
Yeah.
So, as far as the whole cross-dressing things, like the accounts of account, because it's one person, right? It only came from one person, a lady named Susan Rosensteel, and she was paid for her accounts of him cross-dressing for a book that was written about Hoover called Official and Confidential: The Secret Life of J. Edgar Hoover by Anthony Summers. That came out in 1993. So he was already 2 decades dead. Well, he died in 71. So she's the only person who ever said this. And she had some fucking wild accounts. She was married to someone in the government or some lobbyist or some fucking financier. I can't remember. But she had these stories about going to these big parties, and Hoover would be wearing like a red frilly dress with his hair in pigtails and
Whoa.
be introduced as Susan or some shit like that. And then she would see him like, according to these accounts, allegedly, she would see him like go in another room where a bunch of young blonde boys would start pleasuring him. And it was just these big orgies where like multiple big, powerful guys were all
There are so many books
like-
like that about so many. Like, you ever read Hollywood
like very
Babylon?
eyes wide shut sort of fucking.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the author. Somebody Google it. But Hollywood Babylon came out in the like early '80s,
Uh-huh.
and it just like was all over the place. Like fucking Joan Crawford's ability to take big dicks, or like Cary Grant being super gay, getting railed all the time. But it's all like these just like
I
claims.
mean, he was a very singy dancy fellow.
Oh, he was definitely gay as shit. Like it turned out that that's what was going on. But and Joan Crawford could obviously take a dick, but not all
Is
of
that
these.
obvious?
Once you read the book, yeah.
Oh, okay.
The evidence is all there. Maybe they can marry Peters.
Kenneth Anger.
Yeah, Kenneth Andrew.
Quote
It is-
unquote evidence.
Yeah, quote unquote evidence, but there's like pretty good logged like tabloid stuff they hold back. So there were a fuckload of books like that about all kinds of public figures back in the day.
And by the way, with the whole shit with like her ex-husband and stuff like that, she had an axe to grind against Hoover because something about her divorce, and she felt like Hoover influenced somehow the shit that she did or didn't get in the divorce. So she had an axe to grind. She was getting paid for her accounts for a book. Questionable source, right?
Uh-huh.
So suffice it to say, you have to remember that this dude is a very controversial and insanely fucking powerful man for 50 years, right?
Mhm.
At the top of the fucking Bureau of Investigation or FBI, consecutively, respectively.
Well, you can think about it like this. We all know J. Edgar Hoover's name, whether or not we know a whole bunch about him.
Right.
I couldn't tell you who the head of the FBI is right now.
Well, it's a new guy, but
Well, yeah. Or the one that just came out. I couldn't,
I don't remember who that was either.
I mean,
so, yeah, perfect.
And he's alive right now, currently, during the thing that I'm doing. So,
Head of the FBI, is it Kash Patel? Is that who they put in there? Let's not talk about modern politics.
We're
Kash
just looking
Patel
for
FBI or
for a
CIA?
it
fact.
says here it's J. Edgar Hoover again.
He's back.
The bones of J. Edgar.
That'd be cool if the president is just like, we're just gonna put J. Edgar Hoover with his bones back behind the desk, and that's that.
They just put a Brian Driscoll in there.
Okay, so Kash Patel.
Brian Driscoll.
Kash Patel.
I don't
must be
fucking know who
CIA.
that is.
No one knows who the fuck that is.
All right, so
Goddamn O'Driscolls.
the thing about
Goddamn O'Driscolls.
the thing about Hoover is he violated FBI policy and a whole bunch of laws that the FBI, is supposed to enforce. Shit like illegal wiretaps, illegal surveillance, burglarizing private citizens, using the FBI to harass and sabotage political rivals who spoke out against him. I mean, the dude was head of federal investigations from like just after the Teapot Dome scandal. Are you guys familiar with that one?
We talked about it.
I am not very much now.
It was in the Harding, the
missed that
Warren
episode.
Harding. Yeah, it was.
I don't really listen to this. So.
It was in the Harding administration. Basically, real quick rundown of Teapot Dome because it's not. By the way, it's the name of a town in Wyoming. But
You know that part of the teapot that you take off so you can put the tea bag in there?
that's
Yeah.
the
They have a
dome.
gigantic one in Wyoming.
It's just a dome.
Okay.
It's like the world's biggest ball of twine.
Basically, quick rundown of Teapot Dome. So, in the Taft administration, Howard Taft set aside petroleum-rich land in Wyoming and California for the Navy, specifically so the Navy would never run out of fuel. Like, it was enough that the Navy would have fucking fuel forever and ever and ever, right? When Harding took over for Taft, he signed an executive order transferring the control of those petroleum reserves to the Department of the Interior, right?
Right.
A year after that happened, the director of the Department of Interior was leasing the land in Wyoming and California to private oil companies. They were taking out leases with the Department of Interior at like super low rates with zero bidding involved. So it looked like, hey, this federal land that was set up by the ex-president for petroleum is now the government's going, hey, buddy, listen, I'll lease you the land for this and you can drill all the fucking oil. Don't tell anybody. I'm not going to put any other bids. We're not going to take any other bids. You get it for like $20 a month. What do you think? Make a bunch of fucking money, kick me back some, right?
Right.
It was a huge, huge, huge fucking scandal. As a matter of
It's
fact,
essentially stealing from the U.S. government.
yeah, it was exactly that. So, and it was the biggest scandal to date in the history of the U.S. until Watergate, which guess who was the fucking director of the FBI during Watergate?
Goddamn, there used to be scandals every like 40 years or some shit. Like a scandal every goddamn day.
I thought you were going to say J. Edgar Hoover, so I could go, no.
I assumed that you were going to say it was J. Edgar Hoover.
No, he actually died of a heart attack the month before fucking Watergate.
Ooh.
Yeah. He typical alibi.
Typical.
Typical. Thanks, Ben from Leeds. We use it every day.
G. Gordon Liddy? No, he's CIA.
It was a guy named L. Patrick Gray.
Like E.L., like El Patrick.
El Patrick Gray. No, just the letter L. First
We're going to
initials.
call you El Patrick from now on.
Soy El Patrick. So no, he did die of a heart attack like a month before Watergate, but he was still the director of the FBI when he died. He died in office. Nixon appointed L. Patrick Gray as the acting director. So basically what happened was he died. Clyde Tolson was the acting director for one day.
Yep.
Then Nixon appointed a new guy, and Tolson retired.
Huh.
2 days after.
King for a
Yeah.
day.
All right.
As soon as Nixon was like, we need somebody else whose first name is just a letter.
Oh my God. What comes after J? K? No, I don't know anyone with a K.
I don't know
What
any
comes
K.
after that? L? I know an L guy.
Bring him aboard.
So every indication, though, is that the FBI was still operating as a J. Edgar joint. You know what I mean? A month and a half later when Watergate happened. Like I said, Clyde Tolson, immediately after Hoover died, one day as director, said, I'm not fucking doing this.
Oh, he resigned.
Yeah, he probably could have stayed on. I mean, he was J. Edgar Hoover's fucking protege.
Yeah.
He knew the ins and outs. Like
J. Edgar Hoover's Hoda J.
He knew the ins and outs of J. Edgar,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
for sure.
I'm a Hoda J.
See, I was assuming
Edgar Hoover.
I was assuming
No.
that he got shit canned.
L. Patrick Gray had zero FBI experience. He was like a Department of Justice guy. He was never in the FBI, and then suddenly, boom, he's leading the fucking.
Feel like that's a position you probably just wing.
Yeah.
So no, Clyde Tolson retired 2 days after J. Edgar Hoover died on the day of his funeral. He, by the way, was willed Hoover's entire estate.
Oh, they were totally fucking. Let's
They
be
were
real.
Boning hard.
He moved there. He was the one who accepted the flag that was draped over J. Edgar Hoover's coffin.
That was his boo. Yeah.
Yeah,
He
and
wishes he was draped over J. Edgar's coffin.
Draped over J. Edgar Hoover and coffin. He moved into that estate and died 3 years later of a broken heart. He really died 3 years later of like a stroke, I think.
Yeah, being 70-something. Like,
Yeah. No, he was in his 60s because he was a few years
yeah,
younger.
hey,
than J.
you
Edgar
know, a 1970-something 60 is a 2085. So.
Yeah, he was.
That's
I
true.
can't remember how old J. Edgar. He was in his 70s somewhere. But anyway, like I said, we're gonna try not to do too much talking Hoover. So from here on out, we'll pretty much oscillate between COINTELPRO and then fucked up shit Hoover did because COINTELPRO. So to get into COINTELPRO, we got to go back a little bit, post World War II, late 40s. So, almost immediately after Hitler was defeated, the wartime East-West alliance between us and the Soviets started going fucking tits up. And we all know that. It starts the fucking, anti-communist shit. But I hate that we have to do this so much because, like, we've got to get to COINTELPRO, right?
Right.
But all the stops to get there and give this thing context could legitimately be like awesome fucking episodes.
Right. Like what happened between the U.S. and Russia.
Yeah,
And
And we've talked about this. We're gonna do World War II stuff at some point.
I know why. I'm just saying, like, they're interesting stops on the road of history.
100%. And obviously, we are not gonna get into that today because I will fucking talk for a long time about it, and then that requires additional background, and then the cycle just continues.
Yeah,
I
don't want to do
Ouroboros is fucking chomping on his own tail forever.
I don't want to do another sequel episode
Yeah.
on this one.
Yeah, no shit. So yeah, you guys are gonna have to wait. We have talked about doing like some Joseph Stalin stuff and World War II and all the things. So you'll get it fucking eventually. Calm down.
Stalin's an interesting character.
So he is, and
If you
I really
like
want to
murder,
I really want to do a Stalin one. But so anyway, East-West Alliance breaks down. Harry Truman, president after FDR, starts getting paranoid, and he signs an executive order to screen federal employees for any association with organizations deemed, quote, totalitarian, fascist, communist, or subversive, right? Any federal employees need to be screened for whether or not they are considered one of these guys.
A wide net.
Yeah, or if they are advocating, quote, to alter the form of the government of the United States by unconstitutional means, right? Which you would think you fucking vetted these motherfuckers before they got hired, but I don't know. Like I said, Truman was kind of paranoid. Post-World War II, start of the Cold War. So Hoover already has domestic spying skills and domestic spying infrastructure thanks to FDR's paranoia during World War II, right? When Hoover really started monitoring people was during World War II because FDR was afraid of not just Nazi infiltration stateside, but communist Soviet infiltration stateside. So he was like, they're sending agents over here to destabilize shit. You know, all of our boys are overseas. Like, so he gave Hoover permission during his administration, during the war, whoever you think and whoever I give you, look into him.
Huh.
Of course, Truman takes over. Truman's paranoid because now the Cold War is starting. And he says, you know, all this federal screening stuff. And he goes to Hoover, and Hoover's like, I got you, dude. So begins the second Red Scare,
It's
right?
like, I can fucking investigate anyone I want.
Right. And will. So by the early 50s, we haven't started COINTELPRO yet. Early 50s, fella named Joseph McCarthy. You may have heard of him.
Old
He's-
Uncle Joe, they call him.
He's making a speech claiming to have a list of members of the Communist Party USA working inside the State Department. And that shit goes gangbusters, man. People fucking believe it.
Yeah, that's a fucking huge deal.
Well, you got to also, like, again, contextually, you got to look at the time, right? Between 1947, when Truman signed that order that I talked about, and 1950. In those 3 years, you've got a successful communist coup in Czechoslovakia. You've got actually part of the reason why I think McCarthy, because it turned out McCarthy was full of shit, but why he said the State Department specifically, there was a high-level State Department official charged with perjury in an espionage case. So everybody was like, whoa, what's going on over
Easy.
there, right?
Yeah, well, you know, getting that brand of paranoia out is pretty easy. All
Yeah.
you got to do is say, like, hey, I've got a list of American agents that have stabbed babies to death. And and people start going like, let's see the baby stabbing list.
Well, especially with this next one, the Soviets successfully fucking test a nuclear bomb,
Hmm.
and the Korean War is starting to fucking kick off.
Oh, that's the
So-
good one.
Well, it's in effect a fucking proxy war by Chinese and Russians, and South Korea backed by the UN. So it is, you know, the Cold War playing out. All everybody's suspicions confirmed. Oh God. By the time we get to 1956, domestic spying is in full effect, thanks to FDR and J. Edgar Hoover, who, by the way, at this point is already 32 years into this job.
Jesus Christ.
He started
In the McCarthy era, he's already
Yeah.
32?
He started as the head of the BOI in 1924, and we're like fully in the throes of McCarthyism as we know it today.
Holy cow.
And, you know, Hoover's getting a little bit fucking upset and pissy because that pesky Supreme Court keeps handing down decisions that are making it hard to prosecute people, specifically communists, for their opinions. Something about freedom of speech or something. I don't know.
Sounds like bullshit.
Bunch of commie
Yeah,
trash.
First Amendment, blah, blah, blah. Save your bullshit. It's just found in documents. Fuck you. So yeah, Hoover's getting upset that, you know, he's why is the Supreme Court making it hard to prosecute communists for their communist opinions? So,
That means that there must be communists on the Supreme Court.
oh God, Joseph McCarthy, where are you with your fucking list?
Uncle Joe, we need you now.
So Hoover decides to combine all these operations that are running at the federal level, but with like local enforcement in a bunch of places, spying on multiple people, right?
Uh,
And he brings them all into under this umbrella of COINTELPRO, right? He says, we don't have time to think of a name, guys. We got work to do. It's just counterintelligence program. And he just brings them all in because then he can kind of muddy the waters. He can make it harder for anyone to really know what he's up to, right? So, like I said, no time for a cooler name. We got work to do, right?
I did not make a joke about bringing muddy waters into the COINTELPRO program.
Based on something about Muddy Waters, I don't remember what it is. He would probably be one of the guys being surveilled.
Well, yeah, J. Edgar Hoover didn't like musicians.
You nailed it.
That's it.
First
Yeah.
Southern musicians.
Southern musicians,
It's- Yeah. Blues musicians.
Yeah,
was
yeah, he doesn't
not-
like those.
Not into that.
Yeah.
He was a jazz guy.
Yeah. Like
So,
like
I
progressive
can-
jazz, like smooth jazz.
None of that New Orleans stuff, right?
Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah,
Calm
Gotcha.
down. Calm down.
he doesn't like that.
No besmirching my city.
No. We're saying
I'm
J.
calling him a
Edgar
racist.
Hoover.
I'm calling him a racist.
Damn, it was I thought I could have tap danced around that for another 5 minutes.
Sorry, man.
I can honestly, you know, the one
Wait,
thing.
Muddy Waters is black?
The The one thing that I can get behind so far in this episode is understanding not having the time to come up with a name because you got stuff to do. And that is evidenced by any handle I have for anything ever. Like, look at my Xbox handle right now.
What is that?
Patwall99.
You know what mine is?
What?
Like for PlayStation? Riley Dexter Bowen.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm going to let everyone know. You know what my email is? Riley Dexter Bowen.
And like every time I've gotten like a new console or start a new thing that like, I just gotta come up with, and I'm like, I can think of all these fucking names when I'm not doing this, but now I'm excited and I'm just like sitting there going, what's a clever name? What's a clever name? Fuck it. And then I
want to
put,
play the game.
And then I put my name in.
Yeah.
And then I'm watching people like, Napoleon Boner, please, running past me.
My favorite gamer tag I ever saw was "Who Poop There." THAR. I don't know. All caps. Underscores.
My favorite was OMWTFYG666.
Wait, do that acronym again.
OMW.
I'm on my way. Fuck your
TFYG
girlfriend.
666.
Satan.
Yes,
Got it.
it's devil. The
On
devil
my
was
way
wrong.
to fuck your girlfriend, and I am Lucifer.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Taco Bell Poppy is pretty funny too.
Taco Bell Poppy is definitely a white guy.
I just like mine because Riley Dexter Bowen. That's 2 dog names followed by my last name.
I'd say, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
all
like-
my kids have dog names.
2 like blue tick hounds or like 2
You think
golden
Riley is a
retrievers.
dog? I've never met a dog named
A lot of
Riley.
girls, a lot of dogs. I have met so many fucking dogs named Riley. I know 0 boys named Riley.
Huh.
I know, like, it happens. I don't think I've ever met one.
Yeah, no,
besides
you haven't.
Yeah.
I don't know if I know any girls named Riley.
I know several dogs and a few Rileys or a few girls.
I've always said you have an awesome name.
Yeah, well, thanks so much.
Mine sucks. It's Andrew. I'm gonna beep it out.
Yeah, you don't even want to let anyone know.
Redacted.
Yeah.
Andrew redacted.
But my middle name Dexter. That's a good one.
My middle name's Hunter.
You should have
Hunter?
just.
That's a good
Yeah.
name.
You should have just said your whole name and then just like when you editing, just put a beep.
I'm gonna do that.
Oh, are
You know what's good?
I'm gonna cut this
is
out
that
and do that.
Your name should just be Andrew Hunter, but say it like Andrew Hunter.
I hunt other Andrews.
Yes.
Other Andrews are fucking dicks. So
I'm trying
that's
to.
why I
think
go
of-
by Drew.
I'm trying to think of which other Andrews I know. Do I not know
I
people?
work with like 40 of them.
There are so many Andrews.
And most
out
of
there.
them are doctors, and I'm the only fucking nurse Andrew.
I know a bunch of them. I think
Oh wait, my brother-in-law's name is Andrew. Fuck.
a lot of Andrews, a lot of Drews.
He's not a dick. He's a great person.
Do I know any
No, Andrews
Andys?
are-
Is there
are-
an Andy out there somewhere? I know one. I know
My
one
brother-in-law.
Andy. I don't know your
You don't know
brother-in-law.
Andy?
No,
You helped remodel his house. Never met him, huh?
no, never met him.
Huh, cool. Well-
I've never been an Andy.
I'm not, yeah. It's weird. It's a bad name.
Yeah.
I didn't think about my brother-in-law because he goes by Andy and not Andrew.
I know one guy named Andy. Andy's cool.
All right. Well.
Well, we can cut all that bullshit.
Yeah, Jerry Edgar Hoover over here.
Jerry.
What was his first name?
I don't know what his first name is.
It's
I bet you
Jay.
I can find it.
Agent
It's probably
Jay.
John. It's probably John. I've got it right here. You silly bastard.
Jellicus.
John. It's fucking
It's
John,
fucking
like
John.
I said.
He's like, we're
Jesus
gonna
Christ.
abbreviate that. No one needs to know.
He was
Jedgar. Instead, I'm gonna go by Jedgar.
Jedgar.
I'm Jedgar Edgar Hoover.
Jedgar Hoover.
Jedgar Edgar.
Yeah.
Jedgar Edgar Hoover.
I'm Jedgar Edgar Hoover. Okay, so naturally, when COINTELPRO starts, right? Target this 1956, right? Target number 1 of this operation is CPUSA, right? Communist Party of USA. That's sort of the fucking boogeyman at this particular time, right? And COINTELPRO's MO was essentially surveil, infiltrate, discredit, disrupt whatever political organization that the FBI saw as subversive, quote unquote, which is to say the ones that Hoover saw as subversive, because he's the one fucking deciding, right? And he's been given fucking carte blanche on spying for over a decade now at this point, starting with FDR, right? Starting FDR through Truman into Eisenhower.
Right.
So, and Eisenhower's fucking fully complicit with it. So what's a little more complex is that Hoover notoriously was spying on so many figures and politicians and finding out all of the dirt, and he kept that info meticulously documented and under his fucking control and his control only. To that point, by the time we get through JFK and Lyndon Johnson, get to Richard Nixon, Nixon is on recording saying that he was fucking afraid to fire Hoover.
Because he was recording him.
Because he was worried about what Hoover knew about him and what he would fucking leak in the event he was fucking replaced.
Just like, that guy scares the shit out of me.
It's a good Nixon.
Thank you. All you got to do is shake your head like a dog.
You're just
Hey,
Futurama
let your
Nixon.
jowls do the talking. When the president does it, it's not illegal.
Jesus Christ. So, but yeah, that's not like an isolated things. There are tons of stories and evidence that Hoover used a lot of dirty tricks to get intel on people so that once they were in a position of being his boss, right? So I'm basically talking specifically about presidents here. He had fucking blackmail on them and he could keep his position indefinitely.
That shit's crazy. You have a greater hold over somebody with the proper blackmail than you would with a gun to their head.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I fucking hate it. I hate J. Edgar Hoover, but goddamn, he is such interesting subject matter. Like, he is such a fucking interesting dude.
It's creepy stuff, man. I mean, just imagine if you, say you had, like, I don't know, dark secrets or some shit. Somebody puts a gun to your head and says, hey, you're going to do this thing for me. You could say, nah, fuck you. Go ahead and shoot me. I'd rather die. But then somebody's like, I will drag your entire reputation to the fucking ground, ruin your family.
I know this and this and this about you.
That's crazy. And it's like, I'll do whatever you want.
Yeah, legitimately.
Not me. I would just be like, I mean, tell anybody whatever you want. I'm going to jump off a bridge, but
I don't think I have anything bad enough to I wouldn't be able
no,
to. No,
I don't either, but I'm just saying, I'm so fucking contentious. God knows I do. I'm so fucking contentious, I think, that if somebody tried to blackmail me with something, I'd just be like, I'll just die. I don't fucking care. I'll take you with me.
Yeah, he can't leak it if I kill both of us.
What is it, a Wednesday? Seems like a good day to die.
God damn it. All right, so back to COINTELPRO. They are surveilling and infiltrating CPUSA, right? Again, that's Communist Party USA. And I'm talking like everybody from individual nobodies all the way to Charlie fucking Chaplin.
Wow. Well, yeah.
Because Hoover was convinced that Chaplin was, espousing...
Chaplin.
Chaplin.
Charlin.
Is that what his friends called him?
Charlin. Yeah, it's his... I don't know. It's like when you make couple names,
Yeah.
It's like just...
Now, if you were
first
friends
and
with
last
Charlie Chaplin, if you saw him, you'd be like, hey, slut. That's a good... That's what I'd call him anyway.
What was his nickname? Like the Tramp?
The little tramp.
Was he
Little tramp. Yeah.
You think he had a stamp?
That was his character, was the
tramp
little
stamp?
tramp.
Oh, I got you. He was convinced that Charlie Chaplin was espousing communist propaganda, which he kind of maybe was.
You have a tramp stamp.
You didn't know about that. How'd you know about that?
I saw it the other day.
I do. I got it.
I saw that you had one. I don't know what it is.
I got it at 18 on a dare.
It's beautiful.
Good for you.
Great.
Yeah. When
You think like a Charlie Chaplin's face would make a good tramp stamp?
I
Like
mean,
a tramp stamp?
Kinda. Yeah, like the little tramp with
With a hat and shit?
with the hat and the little mustache.
Yeah. I might do that.
That'd be kind of
Yeah.
cool. I'd fucking dig on that. Yeah.
I'd pay for you to get that if you just got a Charlie Chaplin tramp stamp.
How much? And I can justify it to my wife. Who
She'll-
has a tramp stamp?
The price of
Does he really?
the price of the tattoo is what matters.
I mean,
No, he said $500, babe. I could get it really big.
I'll get most tattoos if somebody else will pay for it.
Brian has a star tattoo on his butt cheek that gay guy paid for.
Oh, good for him.
I know. He wasn't a cool gay guy.
No.
He was a shitty person, yeah.
Oh, well.
But I do have here a poster of an anti-communist poster from sort of the Red Scare McCarthyist era, right? I don't want to read this poster because it's fucking hilarious, right? And at first when I was like that, I was like, I need to tell people what words are capitalized and how they're doing this punctuation. But I was like, I'll spend more time talking about syntax than I will fucking the poster. So I'm just gonna read the poster and try and emphasize the words that are capitalized throughout this fucking thing. So, Americans. By the way, an ellipses, but 5 because three dots is not. Would need 5, 2 extra.
There's a reason that it's the reason that old people, anytime they say anything online, use a bunch of ellipses.
Yeah,
They just dot
however many
in between whatever after any words.
So, Americans, Don't patronize Reds. 4 exclamation points. You can drive the Reds out of television, radio, and Hollywood. This tract will tell you how. Why must we drive them out? 1. The Reds have made our screen, radio, and TV Moscow's most effective fifth column in America. 2. The Reds of Hollywood and Broadway have always been the chief financial support of communist propaganda in America. 3. Our own films made by Red producers, directors, writers, and stars are being used by Moscow in Asia, Africa, the Balkans, and throughout Europe to create hatred of America. 4. Right now, films are being made to craftily glorify Marxism, UNESCO, and one-worldism. And via your TV set, they are being piped into your living room and are poisoning the minds of your children under your very eyes. So remember, if you patronize a film made by Red producers, writers, stars, and studios, you are aiding and abetting communism. Every time you permit Reds to come into your living room via your TV set, you are helping Moscow and the internationalists to destroy America.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yo, the fucking Hollywood blacklist was crazy shit, dude.
And what's funny is, like, most of that was just made up shit.
Oh, yeah. It would just be like, whatever, you're fucking... And there were a lot of communists in the like Hollywood
But
writers,
they'd
directors,
also
producers. But it's like they were fucking intellectualized communists. They weren't like praying to Russia. They're just like, yeah, maybe we should start a union. Like Dalton Trumbo. You guys know about Dalton Trumbo?
Johnny got his gun.
Yeah, Johnny got his
Great
gun.
book.
Roman Holiday.
Was he a communist?
He was a communist. He was a card-carrying communist.
He was very anti-war.
Very, very anti-war and like a good man.
And by the way, if you were anti-war,
Wrote Spartacus.
if you were pro-civil rights, you got lumped in with communist.
yeah.
You were communist.
Yeah, so Dalton Trumbo, he got blacklisted, and what he would do to like kind of like stay afloat, because he was like a fucking massively popular writer, and then he got blacklisted because he was an outspoken communist before there was a whole like red ban. And then he would just like, he was in such good standing with so many writers in Hollywood that he would just be like, hey, let me write a script and put your name on it. What do you think?
Oh,
And
nice.
then you could just give me like half.
Hell
So
yeah.
he would work for half, and he got into the business of like getting blacklisted writers to work like this like underground like moonlight shift where they would write scripts and fucking put them out under like writers of good standings names. So to make money doing that, they had to fucking write like crazy. So they would just write like constantly fucking turning out scripts so that they could turn a profit.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's same today. You know, most people honestly don't know the difference between communism, socialism, fascism. Like, they don't know the fucking difference. And it was same back then. So if you were...
Hats. Different hats.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Communism's the big fur hat.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Socialism, you wear a ball cap.
Mm-hmm. Is that? I thought those were like just a red trilby.
Yeah, red trilby would be good. A cap for socialism.
Yeah,
And then for fascism, you wear balls on your face.
Big old sack.
Big old sack of balls on your face. No.
You wear just a sign that says a horrible slur across
Sign
it
that
on your
says,
face.
punch me right in my shit.
So, you know, with CPUSA, they're employing all these methods I talked about before, like agent
They're
infiltration.
employing meth heads?
That too. Agent infiltration, wiretapping. They're also doing shit like mailing anonymous letters alerting neighbors to the, quote, communist next door.
No.
Or they're letting a party member...
Look out, Mrs. Jones. You, too, could be moving in next to
The
a
Reds are
communist.
next door.
Soon they'll want your vegetables.
Yeah, they would let like a communist party member, they would tell them that like a fellow member was having an affair with their spouse, you know, to like just create like infighting.
Destabilization. Yeah.
They would send newspaper articles about anti-Semitism in the Soviet Union to like the Jewish party members. They would plant stories in the press. They would pressure people to inform. I mean, this is we're gonna go into their playbook pretty soon. But
Yeah.
And you know, the FBI at this point is convinced that this is necessary to curb pretty serious internal threat to the United States.
No.
Even though they're using flagrantly unconstitutional methods.
Well, yeah, but if the cause was particularly good, if it wasn't for the correlation of communism with like the Soviets.
Mm-hmm.
If like they could have just be like, oh, it was just commies that just kind of like want to share stuff. Okay, whatever. Then it would be like this is dishonest and fucked up. But since in their heads they're like, we're saving America.
Yeah.
they're like, we'll do anything necessary. We'll infiltrate. Like we will date communists. We will start families with them.
Well,
Which was a thing that happened. Like agents would get involved with political groups and like start relationships with them, like either men and women.
But our love
Yeah.
was real.
Yes, exactly. Like in the 1960s at the Democratic convention that like Abby Hoffman and Tom Hagen and all these guys got arrested at. Yeah, one of the guys who was like the head of the protest, Jerry something, he started like seeing this girl that he met at the protests. And it turned out to be like an undercover cop that was fucking just like getting in with him. Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna get into that in a little
Yeah.
bit. I think I just lost all the bass in my voice.
Oh no. We at Delete Everything Podcast would like to apologize for the slight shift you're about to hear in audio quality. You see, Patrick Wall blew out his voice, his little bitch voice, and he brought some sort of horrifying virulent sickness into the room that I then caught. So for the past week, we've both been voiceless, coughing up some weird green slime. But we're back now, so please enjoy.
So yeah, so the FBI is convinced, right, that there's this huge existential threat to the U.S. and Constitution be damned. This is more important, is to conduct this crazy fucking surveillance on whomever is even maybe possibly part of, the Soviet agenda in any way, shape, or form. But here's the thing. They're convinced because Hoover has convinced them, and Hoover would frequently exaggerate the threat when it came to certain people or organizations. Like he's the guy with his finger on the trigger.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
He's just like, this is so dangerous. This is the biggest
Right.
thing of all time. We
And
gotta
yeah,
look
like
for
it
it
would
right now.
like it came out like all these exaggerated, these FBI agents being like, well, I thought this guy was like gonna, do some crazy
Right.
shit.
Like Joe McCarthy in the
It's Red Scare shit, yeah, 100% Red Scare shit. So, and this and Hoover started doing this on the tail end of McCarthyism. So,
McCarthyism. Joe McCarthy, if you guys don't know, Google him. He was a cunt.
Yeah. Real dick. Wasn't he like at the end? Wasn't he disgraced?
Incontinent. Totally
Well-
incontinent. Shit himself to death.
Wasn't there some event that like ended up in him being completely disgraced before?
well, yeah, he got elected off of the whole. And did we do this earlier in the episode that we recorded a week and a half ago? Because we're back, we're back, baby, with voices.
I don't know what you're referring to.
Me neither. You
There
do sound
was
better. You must have.
We just must have taken a cough drop.
Yeah. I went outside and screamed at the moon for a while.
No, I think what it was the
He ran and got elected on this premise that he had a folder
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
of people working in the State Department that were part of the Soviet agenda. They were part of the Communist Party.
Yeah, his blacklist. Yeah.
Right. And then he wrote on that for a while until people started, okay, can you
show it to us?
tell us
Let's
some
see it.
people? Like,
No,
what-
it's mine.
Yeah.
It's
So
my-
basically,
it's
it
my
was him
list.
never delivering any results.
And it was him pulling people from the State Department into Congress and grilling them in front of Congress, throwing a bunch of accusations at him, and them being like, that's not what I do, man.
You guys know, God, trying to remember, what's the name of the big award that gets given to journalists? Not the Pulitzer. It's named after an old school like Telecaster journalist, like one of the earliest ones.
That's not the
Murrow?
Yeah, the Edward R. Murrow Award.
Yeah.
So Edward R. Murrow was the trusted voice of news society in the 50s.
Right, yes.
Right? He's the one that confronted Joseph McCarthy and was like, I don't believe that you have this information at all. And he did it on like national television.
Yeah.
And he did it knowing full well that McCarthy would fucking blacklist him. But everyone trusted Murrow because he was like their newscaster, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So like he comes out, he's like, I think Joseph McCarthy is full of shit and he's the little pig dog.
And then and then the next week when
the next week
McCarthy's
they're
like,
he's
oh,
a communist.
yeah,
And
new
every-
guy just dropped on the list.
Yeah, but everyone in America collectively was like, no, not this time,
oh,
buddy.
you are
Maybe
full
that's
of
what I'm
shit.
referring
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, it's fucking Clooney made a movie about it. Good Night and Good Luck. Good flick.
Yeah, that's right. That was a good movie.
Yeah, good flick.
was a
Yeah,
very
fuck
good
that guy. McCarthy, not Clooney. Clooney's alright.
I guess I don't know.
You
I'm-
would fuck Clooney.
I would fuck Clooney.
Maybe a younger Clooney. I don't know.
So they're doing all this, right? And it's tricky, primarily because in the 1930s, CPUSA, which again was their primary target when COINTELPRO started, right? Communist Party of the United States. In the 30s, CPUSA had broken with Moscow. They weren't actually being funded by Russia at all.
Yeah, it was
Like-
more of a theological,
Right,
or
100%.
not theological. Theological's religion.
Religious, yeah.
It's more like a philosophical,
Right, exactly.
political gathering
Exactly.
of minds. Rather,
So yeah,
than
they
like
weren't
a
being
active.
They
party.
weren't being
Yeah.
funded by Russia to like sow discord in the U.S. or any of this shit that Hoover is implying, right? Not at this point, at least. They are.
No, they're a bunch of Hollywood Jews trying to write fucking movie scripts.
Yeah, they are poorly funded, ideological political party that's literally zero threat to American politics because there's no money to compete. It's like saying the Green Party is an existential threat
Yeah.
to the United States of America. You know what I mean? Like you can't.
Well, I mean,
you're
hey,
just,
hold on a second. When Ralph Nader ran in 2000 and destabilized the fucking
the primary.
the primary, leading to the election of George W. Bush over Al Gore,
I don't think so. Has a third party candidate? What's the number?
it was Ralph Nader in
Well,
2000.
I
That's what
know
I'm saying.
who it was, but I want to say, is it 1% that a third party in a general
Something-
election?
it's something like that.
I don't
I
think
don't
a
know,
third
but he
party's
was a
ever
really
gotten
easy
even 1%.
scapegoat to yell at and point fingers at for like a long, long time. His name's been Mudge since then.
It was Nada's fault.
Fucking NATO with his seatbelts.
Before that was
Seatbelt guy.
well,
Yeah, no, I know.
he
Is he dead?
Nader?
yes.
Probably.
I thought he
He's
died
dead.
like a few
He's
years
dead.
ago.
Yeah, well, yeah.
The Nader pin was his big thing. When you close your door, you know that big lonk that comes out of the like it's
Big lonk.
the big bonk that
Bonk?
comes on the your door latches too, right? When you open your door in your car, right here on the frame of your car, there's like a big bolt that sticks out,
yeah.
and that's the thing that's called a Nader pin.
Really?
It was a safety thing. Yeah,
Interesting.
that was
So he did
Nader's.
one good thing in his life?
I think he
I don't-
actually.
I don't-
Probably saved
know
a
a
whole
whole
lot
lot
of
about
lives.
Actually,
you know,
I think that
cars
Nader
doors
actually-
not flying open during accidents with people flying out.
This is totally off of topic of what we were actually talking about, but I do think that me bringing up the Nader's to blame for Al Gore losing the fucking election in 2000 is just such a bullshit like American government conspiracy
Yeah.
nonsense. It's just like, well, that's the reason because no smart American would vote for this unless it was just fucking.
Jesus Christ.
Well, I think Nader was probably fine. He's probably
Probably.
a fine guy,
Probably.
but he's been shit on for a long time because of
yeah.
that.
Okay, so like I said, the CPUSA is poorly funded. They're just ideological guys with nothing. They're just espousing sort of like, wouldn't it be better if this? But they have no political power, right?
Just like us.
Not at this point, at least. So they literally, like, the joke for a while was that, like, at this point in time, was that the only people left paying dues to CPUSA were the FBI infiltrators and informants that were in CPUSA
That is pretty funny.
to fucking snitch out whomever to the FBI. So
That's fun.
now, eventually, in the late 50s, so after the FBI has been doing ops on CPUSA for a few years, there were a couple of brothers who reconnected Russia and China with CPUSA. And they traveled back and forth for years, returning with money to operate and expand the party, which they did successfully. Funny story, though. The brothers, Morris and Jack Childs, who were naturalized citizens from Russian-Ukraine descent, were actually double agents codenamed Solo and were reporting back to Hoover as well.
No shit. So the reason that the
So the
CPUSA
FBI set the entire thing up to reconnect CPUSA with Moscow for funding when the party was effectively fucking powerless.
God damn, that is wagging the dog right there. That is some
Abso-fucking, and
serious
now we
shit.
can keep monitoring them, baby.
Wow.
Fucking crazy, right?
I mean, well, that's your standard. That's your kind of like covert American
Absolutely.
sort of like intelligence thing.
Yeah,
right?
that's sort of the joke of American intelligence.
Well, it's like,
Whoopsie daisies.
When you were saying that like the only people paying dues in the CPUSA were fucking informants.
Yeah.
Like growing up in Detroit, there was always like a big thing that the drug dealers were making a lot of money off of undercover cops. Like that was like most of the money that drug dealers were making was
Jesus.
from undercover cops.
God. So while this is all going on, COINTELPRO is achieving their objective, right? Or at least like insofar as the original reason they formed, right? But there are a lot of subversive groups out there, man. There's just so much subversion if you're Hoover. Just all the subversion. So
Just subverting
this is
expectations.
This is Hoover's shit, baby. He is loving this. So in the early 60s, he decides, yeah, let's do the KKK now.
Let's connect them with Russia.
So COINTELPRO starts employing the same methods to infiltrate the KKK, which apparently was like laughably easy to infiltrate and literally like took no time for the
You
FBA.
need a disjointed, barely connected group of fucking racists and dickheads.
It took no time for the FBI to know all of their movements, aside from like little local acts of violence. You know,
it took a 12-pack of Coors Light. Like, hey brother, why don't you take that mask off? And they're like, oh hell yeah.
Yeah. So, but like anything that the Klan planned large like marches, whatever, any big
Barbecues.
thing that came from
Ice cream socials.
Jesus.
Fucking KKK ice cream socials. You just imagine everybody with their hood lifted
Just
a
their
little
hood
bit.
up. You
Like
can
a
just see
chocolate
their
cone.
mouth.
Just chocolate stains all down the robe.
Yep.
Their robe, the front of their robes lifted up so you could just see
I
their
don't think
mouth and
they'd
like
be eating
safety pinned to the
chocolate.
side. Oh my God.
Other than it'd be the most
'Cause they're
boring
fucking
ice cream.
assholes. Yeah,
Like, we only serve vanilla here.
exactly. Fucking cunts.
Oh my God.
So he comes up and says, hey, can I get like a chocolate vanilla swirl? And they're like, the fuck you can. You get
You
out
mean
of
a
West,
mulatto? We don't do mulattoes
Get out
here.
of West Virginia if you know it's good for
Oh
you.
my God. So, like I said, anything centrally planned by the Klan, the FBI, it looked
We do
took
have
like no time.
pecan.
I don't know why that sounds racist.
We got pecan. We have French vanilla.
Why does pecan sound racist?
We've got
It's-
strawberry.
French vanilla, freedom vanilla.
Freedom
Yeah, it's
vanilla.
not French.
Well, I mean, back in the time, they would probably want to mind it so much. Hold on, I got one more. Mint. Just mint. No chocolate chips.
Oh my God. Okay.
White
So-
chocolate.
Aside from your fucking just typical shit kicker white supremacy,
Neapolitan,
the
but only two of them.
FBI's fully on to KKK shit, right?
We do have Superman flavor.
He's an alien, though.
Yeah, that's fine. He's an American alien. It's fine.
Okay, so as far as then President Lyndon Johnson, who we were all talking about earlier, as far as the president at the time knows, Lyndon B. Johnson, this is his idea, right? He phoned Hoover in 1964 saying, well, this is recorded, right? On communists, they can't open their mouths without you knowing what they're saying. Now, I don't want those Klansmen opening their mouths without your knowing what they're saying. He also was probably pretty cognizant of the fact that Hoover was going to employ the usual methods because he also added, nobody needs to know it but you.
Ah, yes.
So, because the methods are not constitutional.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
Did he whip his dick out?
however, unbeknownst to Johnson, or maybe partially beknownst,
Is he not going to take the bait on that dick joke?
I'm not.
He's in the middle of
Wait,
something. I'm sorry.
nobody was around for a conversation earlier.
We got to talk about
Lyndon
Johnson's
Johnson liked to
dick.
pull his dick out a lot.
He called it Jumbo.
Did you read the article?
I read
He
the
called
article.
it Jumbo
yeah.
Johnson. Yes,
Jumbo Johnson.
that's what he called it.
Oh.
That was the joke. That was what I was supposed to take the bait on.
We're here to talk about the details of history, okay?
So,
The nitty-grittiest, the jumboists.
like I said, not fully beknownst to Johnson, maybe partially beknownst, but Hoover had already started spying on the KKK years earlier. They already had a guy, like one of their top guys in the Klan, a man named Gary Rowe, was about to celebrate 5 years as a Klan informant when Lyndon Johnson was like, yeah, now do the Klan, right? This guy's already like, hey, 5-year party coming up. Gary Rowe was,
God, what a fucking shitty job that would be, though.
oh my God, yeah.
Unless you were like actually a sympathizer, which I don't know anything about Gary Rowe. But if you are like us, not big fans of the Ku Klux Klan, having to pretend to be one for 5 years would be a fucking nightmare.
I don't know. I feel like, do you send a guy who's like diametrically opposed to all of their ideas, or do you find the guy who's the most like, well, yeah, they are lazy, and then you send that guy in.
Not to bring down the jovial tenor of this episode, but I'm pretty sure you send a guy who can watch a lynching without pulling a face. You know?
Woof.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would they let it go that far?
Yes.
Well, yeah. What, you're in the midst of 100 Klansmen with fucking like burning crosses?
Well, I
and
mean,
shit?
obviously they're like making a plan, like, hey, we're gonna do this later. Like,
It's like going undercover as a police officer.
Yeah.
You have total immunity. You have to blend. So
Yeah.
if people are getting
Yeah.
murdered, you pretend to be like, fuck yeah, murder, because you're not going to you're an informant.
That's like undercover,
Yeah, I mean-
like narcs. They have
Yeah.
to do drugs.
Yeah.
They have to do
Yeah.
drugs.
One of the first things they do is drugs.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a shitty job. You're right.
That, I mean, the narc thing might be cool in the right setting, but like,
No, infiltrating the clan would fucking.
I
Suck.
don't imagine.
I'm an adult. I don't like being pressured into doing drugs.
But
You know
what
what
if-
I'll
Yeah,
do the
yeah.
drugs
Just, all right,
whenever I want to
hear
do
me
the
out.
drugs.
Hear me out. What if like you were in like fucking Turks and Caicos or something, and there's like a real fun drug ring. Everyone's having a lot of fun. It's a blast, and you're just trying to get in there.
Sure. That seems like a fun time.
And you want to bust them, yeah, but you got to do 6-8 months of the, like, eating ecstasy.
I
and,
thought you were
like,
going to say 6-8 bumps.
You got to do
You
6,
gotta do
8
6
bumps.
or 8 bumps
Yeah,
before
gotta
I trust you.
You got to eat ecstasy and have sex with native women, and
Okay.
Then at a certain point, when it's time to do the bust, you might be like, I mean, I don't have enough info yet. I
should probably get back in there.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, back to it. So, fortunately, for those who aren't huge fans of intolerance and bigotry, the FBI did cripple the KKK a little, and pretty much only in Alabama. Shout out to our Alabama listeners. You guys should go ahead and finish up Hoover's work now. Would
Yeah,
be
kill the KKK.
preferable.
We're endorsing murder.
They fine. They use the same tactics to sow discord, secretly accusing members of the Klan and the Klan leadership of being FBI informants, even though they weren't. You know the deal. We talked about it with CPUSA. Sort of rat in the hen house shit, right? Except for his other rat friends are sending messages to the hens, trying to convince them that there's some other hens are the rats, and that the rats are actually the hens.
What?
You know what I mean?
It's an Ouroboros of bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Is that what we're getting at?
Yeah.
Okay.
None of the hens know who to believe, is what I'm saying. The rats are the hens are the rats.
Jesus.
Chaos reigns supreme.
You know the Stetson Kennedy story about the KKK?
I don't believe so.
So like the really cool like folk activist Stetson Kennedy lived here in St. Augustine for a long
Mhm.
time. You probably heard about him a lot while he was alive, because he'd be like 95, like standing outside of Publix with a sign like, workers' rights or something. Like,
I don't think I ever heard of this
Oh,
person.
this guy was fucking rad. He was probably my favorite part of living in St. Augustine for the first like 10 years that I was here.
Uh-huh.
But he was like a big, a folk activist. He would like hang out with like Arlo Guthrie or
Right,
fucking,
right.
he did shit in the Dust Bowl. He was a journalist. But he infiltrated the KKK one time to like see what he could do
He
to bring
watched
him down.
Gamble Rogers drown to death trying to save that boy.
And then he got
Gamble Rogers.
I don't know that story.
You know that a lot of things around here are named after Gamble Rogers.
Yeah.
He's a folk musician from St. Augustine who died trying to save a kid that was drowning in the ocean.
Then I guarantee you Stetson Kennedy knew who he was. I bet
Probably.
I could take about one Google. But so Stetson Kennedy infiltrated the KKK, and one thing that he found that was kind of universal amongst KKK members was that they had kids. And at the time, all in like the 30s, all of these kids listened to the same radio program every week. That was the Superman broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Superman radio hour. So what Stetson Kennedy did that was fucking genius was he went to the producers of that broadcast and had them write in a bunch of storylines
Let's have Superman
where
fuck up the
Superman fucked up the
KKK.
KKK.
Nice.
Fuck
Like
yeah.
week after week, the kids are listening like, Superman hates him?
Just weaponizing your own children against you.
I love that shit. Anyway,
Fuck
sorry.
yeah. Okay, so either way, COINTELPRO is kind of just getting started, right? So whether this happened organically or by Hoover's design, the thing about surveilling groups that you view as subversive and anti-government is that a lot of them are allied together, right? Even though they have individual goals like that might differ, even though their methodologies might differ, for the most part, there's a lot of overlap in their goals, right? On like CPUSA.
Yeah, like the
and,
KKK and
well,
communism.
not so much the KKK, but I mean, we're going to get into all the groups here.
Yeah, but in general, anti-American radicalist activities.
Right. and I don't know if you've heard this or not, what was going on in the U.S. in like the mid 1960s.
Ooh, let me see.
There were some changes happening.
My mind's been going through them changes. Buddy Miles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Correct. That's all.
I've heard that one. Yeah.
Uh,
It's off of the Band of Gypsies, Jimi Hendrix album. Anybody? Also, Buddy Miles' album changes, but that was
all right. So,
all right.
Typical.
Right.
typical.
Typical. I can't really do it.
So, yeah, mid 1960s, there's some things happening, and Hoover has a very well documented, like, visceral fucking hatred for anything that he viewed as even slightly anti-establishment. So, when he finds out that Martin Luther King is friends with CPUSA members, this is what I'm talking about, is sort of that crossover, right? Guys like Stanley Levinson, who later became Dr. King's advisor. The whole thing becomes sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? You know, like Hoover keeps looking for things and keeps finding these threads that he can keep pulling. You know?
Yeah. If you go looking for monsters, you're gonna find monsters somewhere.
Right. And I mean, he already kind of engineered the whole CPUSA thing, you know, so the grinder just keeps fucking grinding.
In like my head right now, the way I see Hoover is like there's just this greasy fuck at a desk, just like, yes, we must catch them.
Yeah. Well, and you know, like, so the SCLC, which is
like Grima Wormtongue. He's got like a real Grima Wormtongue thing going on.
Yeah. The Southern
Every
Christian.
fucking episode, you sneak some Lord of the Rings bullshit.
We have
in.
to. It's a
What do you
thing.
mean?
Okay. I love Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I think I seem like a naysayer.
I'm glad that Riley remembers because I won't remember. So unless something just happens organically, I'm just like,
Yeah. I mean, we could keep
Lord of the
going, but don't tempt me, Frodo.
Okay, so like I said, so like the SCLC, which is the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, which MLK was part of, the Black Panthers, Socialist Workers Party, CPUSA, they're all loosely affiliated in their efforts to enact change in the country at this time, the mid 60s, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, everybody's sort of
Everybody's doing something.
there's
yeah.
there's a rolling boil happening
Yeah.
here that's about to fucking spill over the top of the pot, right? And does.
It's kind of like if you look at like any period in American history, you can find multiple different factors leading to what will eventually be some great upheaval.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. I mean, it's a good thing we're not going through anything like that right now.
No, nothing topical about that statement.
Nope.
So, like I said before, they've got different methodologies, but there are a lot of intersections in what type of change they're looking to create. So, COINTELPRO jumps into action with their little bag of tricks, and this shit is outlined by COINTELPRO, right? Like, they didn't just wing it and look for opportunities. They had a fucking playbook. Specifically, they had a 4-stage process starting with infiltration. So agents would join these groups that they deemed quote unquote progressive, left wing, anti-war once Vietnam kicks off. Really anything that Hoover views as
Did
anything.
you say West Wing?
What?
You say
You said
progressive?
left
Left
wing.
wing.
I
Progressive.
heard West Wing.
Progressive or left wing or anti-war.
I'm sorry.
Yes, they were super looking into.
I'm not even joking. I literally heard. I was checking to
Yeah.
see if you had just said West Wing because that's what I heard.
Yeah, they were all up in Aaron Sorkin's shit. So that probably would be if it was going on.
It's a great show. Oh yeah, Hoover be all over this motherfucker. It's like, how do you know so much about the inner workings of the presidency?
You and Michael Douglas, you're on my list.
We know you were smoking crack in that hotel room.
Okay, so this is a playbook, right? So anything that Hoover views as against the status quo,
Did you say Michael Douglas because of the movie The American President?
was he not West Wing president?
No, Martin Sheen.
Martin
But-
Sheen, that's right. I
fun-
get those two.
But it works out great because Aaron Sorkin wrote the movie The American President
Oh,
with Michael Douglas.
good.
So bam, spot on.
I do get Michael Douglas and Martin Sheen confused.
Weird
a
thing to
lot.
confuse because Martin Sheen in that fucking
He's got
Sharon
bigger
Stone
teeth.
movie would be really weird.
Or banging Catherine Zeta-Jones. Yeah, I guess that would be the same amount
I mean,
of
that's
weird as Michael
still
Douglas.
weird. Yeah, they got loose skin and shit. They're
You think You think that Martin Sheen would go down on Catherine Zeta-Jones as much as Michael Douglas did?
enough to get throat cancer.
Enough to get throat cancer.
I don't know. I would.
You know what the
Oh.
you know what the fucking hilarious
No.
thing about this? I don't know if a lot of people know this, but so that was the big joke
Yeah.
when he got esophageal cancer.
Yeah.
Was that he came out and said
Yeah,
it was from
he-
going down on my wife too much, and everybody was like, "What a fucking weird brag, dude! Like that's not how you get cancer." And then like years later, like within the last couple of years, they've released like medical fucking studies into the fact that going down on someone a whole bunch, like going down on a woman a bunch, can actually contribute to esophageal cancer.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, worst ways to go out.
I mean, I was bringing this up to my wife the other day, and I was like, it's not fair because there are studies that say that, like swallowing my stuff,
This is great.
helps with depression. You can put it on your skin, and it makes your skin more
sure, it helps with
elastic.
depression depending
You
on the
can
guy.
put it in your hair, and depending on diet.
Depending on the guy.
I eat very healthy.
I try that shit.
Depending on who you're swallowing.
Yeah,
there.
the guy ripping cigs and eating fucking
No,
McDonald's.
I'm just saying,
and,
like, I
and-
can't believe
and
that I'm
drinking.
swallowing this guy's spooch.
I try that shit with my wife, and she'll 10 minutes later come back and be like, that study was conducted by 96 males or some shit. Very quick to debunk anything like that.
It's not your fault that there are more men in science than women. We are all fans of more women being in STEM programs. So do you throw that back at her next time?
I will.
We support women in STEM.
I for one am not a fan of studies that mean exactly dick. So
It does mean exactly dick.
I'm just saying,
precisely.
like, fucking, every time I hear a new study that's like,
Specifically what comes out of the dick.
like fucking flying in airplanes 35 times a year will give you hemorrhoids. Like, that doesn't mean anything. That's not science. I don't want to hear that statistic.
Well, but also like
Never tell me the
the
odds.
contributing fucking percentage is like 2%.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Like,
nonsense. It's-
also, stop putting things in your ass every day because that's more important.
it's
But
just-
the airplanes, that'll help if you're already putting things in your ass.
So all those studies are like, swallow and cum will cure your depression. Like, that's not science. Don't throw that
Probably
at me.
not. Probably not.
I mean, yeah, if the guy's worth a lot, yeah, maybe. If you're doing it in Cancun.
Oh my God. Okay, so the agent or the agents, like infiltration's part one, right? Well, part one is Hoover goes, I don't like them. We're going to monitor these guys.
They're weird and icky.
So infiltration, right? The agent or agents get in. Obviously, they're reporting back to the FBI so that they can keep dossiers on whomever. Then they get to work acting as provocateurs to get members to act more extreme, right? They're kind of going, well, we're
Like
doing this.
mountain biking and shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I brought a whole case of Red Bull, guys. No, but like if we're planning this thing, then like these infiltrators would sort of like act as provocateurs and like, well, why don't we take it a step further? Why don't we do this again? Self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Yeah.
You
Go,
like
just throw it, do it.
right? Yeah. So
Don't be a pussy, dude. Fucking set the car on fire.
and then if word gets out, like within the group, that there are infiltrators in there, then it's back to this general chaos, right? The agents start accusing other members of being spies, and if there's enough discord within the group, then
it's just like a bunch of Spider-Man just pointing at each other.
yeah, if there's enough discord in the group, then that just helps the additional purpose of deterring more people from joining whatever group, right?
Uh-huh.
Whether it's from new members not wanting to be a part of like some crazy shit show, because the FBI would leak stories to like reporters, and like, oh, CPUSA has been infiltrated by the FBI. They're trying to figure this shit out.
Yeah,
there would
creating a zeitgeist. Yeah.
Exactly. So obviously a lot of people would be like, well, I'm not, I kind of felt some of the things they were saying, but they've got FBI infiltrators now. I'm not going to join that, So obviously there would be public knowledge, but sometimes it would also be like group leadership afraid to add members while they're trying to sort out who's like the legitimate member and who's not. Again, it just fucking
Yeah, and the investigation of that in itself would be like a weird little fucking Ouroboros of just like, it seems like his dad was in government, so maybe that radicalized him to join our group, or maybe he's a fucking fad.
Exactly. So then we get to part two, right? Part two of this infiltration is PSYOPs. And this is where agents are spreading rumors. Like I said before, like they'd go to one guy and be like, oh yeah, your wife is having an affair with this other guy in the group, even though it's all fucking made up.
Right.
They would forge documents implementing members of the group in fucking shit. They'd like forge documents about the group leaders doing like shit where they're, working with opposition or whatever. And then they go and fucking plant shit. They break into houses and go plant shit. or they'd slide shit under people's doors,
Yeah,
or like
and
just
that's-
all kinds of crazy shit.
That's that beginning of like your G-man fucking paranoia.
Classic fucking
know?
psyops. Well, I mean, we're in the 60s here, so it's
Yeah,
it's
but-
after G-Men, but I mean,
Well, I mean, it's the same shit, you know?
100%
Guys
in the
in
same.
fedoras and fucking and
black
ties
glasses, yeah.
just fucking breaking into my house at night and bugging my plants. Fucking
Why are the Blues Brothers out front?
You just pick up your couch cushion and there's an entire dossier
Yeah,
of how
yeah.
you like to fucking, I don't know, fuck dolphins or something.
Uh,
You're like, I don't remember any of this.
I swear I never fucked a
I
dolphin.
never fucked a dolphin.
Also, like this is where a lot of times people will be accused of homosexuality because it's the fucking 60s, you know. So, and they would do something called bad jacketing. This is where they'd spread rumors or create fake documents to spread suspicion that group leaders were embezzling funds or planning to kill other members or any of this crazy shit. So one of the examples of this that we know is a guy named Stokely Carmichael, right? Carmichael was a
It's a
black
great name.
yeah.
Was just like a-
Stokely.
Stokely Carmichael was a Black Panther Party leader, and Hoover did not particularly care for this dude, right?
Maybe because he was a Black Panther Party leader.
Well, and he was a very charismatic guy, right? So he voiced fears that Carmichael would become a quote unquote Black Messiah. He was a super popular freedom rider who was really good at like delivering really provocative speeches and writings, and Hoover was scared of him making headway in the civil rights movement, right?
Yeah, the Black Panthers are really good at that. They
Oh, hell
they
yeah.
would, like, a lot of the people at their forefront would be like, you know, activist poets or
Super
artists
smart,
or
super
like-
well spoken,
Yeah.
super charismatic
yeah, a lot of
guy.
teachers, a lot of collegiate professors and
Right.
graduates.
like
yeah.
push those people to the front.
Yeah, exactly. You put them at the
Mhm.
front because it's a lot harder to discredit a movement, you know, based pretty much specifically around like the poor.
Yeah.
It's hard to discredit them when the people that are trying to move the movement forward are highly educated, well-respected, eloquent.
yeah.
Yeah.
Here's how this went down. So Hoover instructed agents to bad jacket Carmichael. It spread rumors that he was a CIA agent, and it had an effect. The other leadership in the Black Panthers bought the lie. He was booted as a leader of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, which he was one of the head guys of. He was booted as a primary or an honorary prime minister of the Black Panther Party. And dude knew what was going on. Like he 100% knew, like he knew he was in fucking danger, and he ended up just leaving because he was getting death threats from the groups that he was part of, right? Not from the FBI, from the groups. So he moved to Africa and was an activist there. But all of this is because he was, like I said, just a charismatic guy in a time when civil rights and Black power movements are making a lot of headway. And so he just got taken out of the mix, man.
Yeah.
Like they just effectively bad jacketed him out of two major Black power movements, major civil rights movements, to the point where he was like, I got to get the fuck out of here. He ended up going to Africa and was a big activist in Africa until he died. But yeah, they took him out.
I kind of feel like that was Hoover's superpower, not necessarily like being able to be like, okay, these guys are a problem, focus them, destabilize them, but being able to be like, that guy.
Right.
Like, that
right.
guy is obviously, look how fucking charming he is.
Like I said, he was afraid of him
Hoover's
becoming
like, he's really good looking and charming and I like him. Get him out.
right.
Get him out.
He was afraid of him becoming, like I said, quote unquote Black Messiah.
Yeah.
And it's not the first time or the last time that they'll use that term.
No.
Like burning a little too bright for Hoover, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Making too much headway
Yeah.
Oh, the Black
against
Panthers,
the status quo.
the Panthers specifically, that happens again and again and be like, that guy.
Right.
Bobby Seale, fucking
Right.
out. Fred Hampton,
Right.
out. Like,
Right.
yeah.
So, all right. So the third part of this playbook, manipulation of the legal system. Here's where we get into all of this fucking, like if at this point you thought, okay, this is all just infiltration, psyop stuff, like nothing too crazy unconstitutional.
Nah,
right?
nothing crazy about any of this. God, we are so fucking just disenfranchised.
If
in this
you are
country.
one of the people, if you are one of the people listening to this, and at this point you're like, it's mostly above board, maybe a little bit of shady shit, but okay. This is where I hope you'll change your mind,
I
right?
just feel like if this was like the early 1900s, right? And we were describing this level of like corruption and weird infiltrative
In
shit
the
and-
federal
in
government.
the federal government, people would be like, "This is science fiction,
yeah.
absolute
Yeah.
madness," and
Yeah.
this is like
Shit.
light grade for what we get into the future.
God,
like, holy
yeah.
shit!
Absolutely. So, I mean, yeah,
Even-
you might be thinking, okay, Hoover was a dick, but that's just espionage, baby.
I mean, even a couple decades ago, I think this would
Yeah.
have been
Pre 9/11.
way-
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, way more shocking.
Well, this
than I
came
think-
out. This all came out, I think,
anybody's
in the
gonna find it now.
2000s. I've got the date a little further down, but yeah, I would argue that it's questionably legal, if not transparently fucking illegal, domestic espionage. But like I said, here's where the abuses of power get added to this fucking stinky pot of gumbo we're cooking up.
The
So.
Abuses of Power. That's that Lord of the Rings series on Amazon, right?
Yeah. The FBI is, for all of you who don't know, the top law enforcement entity domestically in the U.S., if anyone wasn't aware of that fact, right? They're the top dog. And with someone like Hoover sitting in the big boy chair, collecting dirt on anyone and everyone, and, by the way, on a personal mission to do whatever the fuck he wants to take down people and groups that he has a distaste for specifically. I mean, he's a fucking federal employee. He's the biggest law enforcement agent. He's the head of the biggest law enforcement agency, and he can make fucking shit happen, right?
There's something very almost like Lord of the Rings about Hoover in this legend. Like he's like, hear me out. He's like the fucking.
Here we fucking go.
He's got his fingers in all the pies. He's got all the puppets dancing, but it's not because he's got a loyalty to the country or some shit like that. It's not like, I mean, arguably, it's not because like, oh, he's serving the president. It's just, yes, everyone dance.
I think
the narrative that I get is he's doing it because he fucking can.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he's got a loyalty to the status quo, right?
Mhm.
I don't think he wanted things to change. I think that he was one of these people that was like, America's like this. and all
Nuclear
these people want to
family.
take-
Yeah. Which is funny for how
And the
gay
60s
he was.
And the 60s is
gay.
and the 60s is when it started becoming more normal to be against the status quo, right? Like you think about the 50s and you think about
so
the
that upheaval
nuclear
comes from
family and the mom stays at home and raises the kids, dad works, you got a nice car in the driveway, nice house.
Uh-huh.
That sort
the
of shit.
secretary.
Once the 60s come around, then there starts being a lot more upheaval and a lot more individualism, maybe.
Yeah, I think that comes out of like the beatnik movement.
absolutely.
The Kerouacs and shit like
the
that.
beatniks,
and
the
fucking
hippies,
Ginsbergs.
yeah, absolutely.
And Ginsberg influences the yippies
Mhm.
and the hippies and the
Yeah. So,
and everybody's growing their fucking pubic beards out and banging bongos in the park, smoking crazy reefers.
so like I said, Hoover is obviously in a position to make shit happen, right? Things like frivolous lawsuits against people, right? Against people that he doesn't want to go anywhere. Not from the FBI, from third parties. Just,
Right.
hey, I want you to file a lawsuit against this person, right?
Oh shit! So they can't leave the country because they're under fucking litigation.
Well, and not only that, I mean, just you like, again, leaning on DAs to prosecute people over minor crimes. These are things that get people now. It's costly. It's time consuming. How much time do you have to spend on these other fucking things when you're bogged down in frivolous lawsuits and you're getting prosecuted to the full extent of the law for some minor fucking crime?
yeah, you're gonna
know what
make
I
it
mean?
to your commie meeting if you have fucking litigation at 4.
How about this one? Instructing the IRS to audit people.
Ooh,
Do you think that's not fucking time consuming and stressful as fuck?
yeah. Account for every cent you've ever spent.
Yeah, and by the way, if all of those things fail,
We talking rhyme all the time. We are the IRS.
if all of those things fail,
Lord of the Rings.
oh my god.
Account for all your coin.
If all these things fail, they just fucking frame people for crimes.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, they'll
knowing that they're innocent.
just fucking put them in jail. Throw them in.
Right.
We got nothing on them. Just
and
toss
like,
them in.
And like, if at this point you're still like, it's kind of like a fuck around and find out situation. Like, imagine this, right? Regardless of your beliefs politically, imagine someone like Hoover sitting in a position of power and he doesn't agree with whatever your politics are, whatever it is
let's
that
say
you're
like your
outspoken
immigration
about.
status.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you're hardcore right, hardcore left, middle of the road. Any specific thing that you believe should change that is part of the status quo. And Hoover, and you, by the way, with social media today, it doesn't take much.
Yeah, just fucking 10 seconds on my Instagram and I'm fucked.
That dude would find it real fucking quick, right? So regardless of your political beliefs, Hoover's sitting in that position and he doesn't agree with your position.
I think I put out a threads last week that was just like, there is no God.
So again,
Get executed behind a dumpster for
yeah,
that.
right.
That
So
one,
again,
right there.
imagine imagine for a second, listener, imagine now he finds something that you say within your group of friends and family or on social media or whatever, and he's not down with your opinion, and he decides, fuck your First Amendment right to talk about your opinion. Suddenly you're getting bad jacketed at work. You're getting fucking forged documents start showing up, implementing you in shit you didn't do. You're being questioned for crimes you didn't commit. The IRS is showing up to audit your finances. You're having to hire lawyers, and
Your boss
and-
calls you in like, excuse,
Yeah.
I've got this documentation that you fucked a dolphin.
Yeah.
And you're like, no.
You're having to be in court because the DA wants to throw you in jail for some fucking minor offense that you may or may not have even fucking committed. Somebody is suing you, and you got to go get a lawyer for that to be in court. Like, the disruption to your life is insane,
Yeah, there's no way around it either.
right? And especially in like this day and age with all the fucking social media warriors out
Yeah.
there, you know, like anybody could get fucking flagged at any point and
Yeah.
be in danger.
For sure.
Yeah. Your only hope really around this.
Domestically, as a citizen, by your own fucking government.
The only escape you could possibly make in this country would be to throw your phone into the ocean and then take a boat
Yeah.
somewhere else.
And do like Stokely Carmichael,
Yeah.
go to Africa.
Yeah, exactly.
So lastly, the final step of the playbook here, use violence.
When all else fails, shoot them.
There were people that the FBI just like could not scare away successfully. They couldn't discredit them successfully. They couldn't do anything. Some people were above reproach enough that they couldn't get things to prosecute them for. And so the FBI would use local law enforcement to just fuck them up.
Yeah.
Would you like some examples?
Hold on a second. I got a couple of, say, every black person that tried to do anything from 1940 to 1970.
That's actually, yeah, a lot of those.
Yeah. Actually, during while we were doing the
Underground.
Underground Railroad,
Mhm.
there's a part where we talk about, I think so we were talking about John Brown, right?
Mhm.
And we were talking about or it was all slave rebellions in general.
Mhm.
We were talking about how if you leave like the younger generation to watch the slave revolt, it's like you kill their parents.
Right,
And then
yeah,
move on.
yeah.
Those people are going to grow up being like,
more likely to be.
yeah, growing like slaves killed my parents,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
they'll
yeah.
be fucking just like super against it, which is exactly, and that's on that episode. I realized like, oh shit, that's what the nonviolent protest movement was throughout the '60s, with
Right.
like Martin Luther King and
Right.
the Alabama bus boycotts and stuff. It's like you can't give them a reason
Exactly.
to fucking
Yeah.
hate us.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean, it
we
was
just have to stand there and be like, we don't want this.
it
to
was
happen.
it was a frequently spoken rule is like don't create more enemies against this movement.
Yeah,
that we're-
that's. I mean,
that
which
we're
is
trying to do.
I'm 36 years old, and it never occurred to me that that's what the whole point was.
Listen.
Was to just not make more enemies.
Absolutely. And that goes to show how shittily we're taught history, because that was
It's
an
obvious.
outwardly spoken rule.
It's so fucking obvious when you look at it like that. It's like, oh shit, okay.
Two,
like,
it's
they
the whole
can't-
point of this podcast, because I feel like every episode that we do, I learn something.
Gotta learn something.
And I feel like every podcast that we do, you learn something.
No, I already
And
knew all this
it's-
stuff.
I ain't learned shit.
I ain't learned shit.
No, I'm kidding. You guys are very informative.
Yeah, I actually.
I-
Go
I
ahead.
just want to say, I was like a fan before I was ever
Oh,
part of all this.
Aw.
I think I texted you when you first put the the first like the batch of 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
yeah, I think your exact words were your audio quality is shit.
I didn't say
You need a
that.
producer.
I know a guy. He's
Uh,
got a shed.
Hey, well, we're spreading the love. I want to plug Drew's band, Best of Cynthia. Check it out on wherever you listen to music.
Yeah. Why haven't we done that sooner?
Yeah,
I don't know. I
fucking
mean,
dope ass band.
Cynthia with an S.
Yeah, Best of Cynthia with an S-Y.
I'm gonna delete that. It's
Yeah, I
a little
fucking
too,
knew you.
A little too like you
Yeah.
can jerk me off mic. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You can put one of your songs on one of our episodes, and then there you go.
I got a surprise for y'all, but
I love it.
It's down the road a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll put it in, and if you hate it, then we'll take it out.
I won't
But
hate it.
It's nothing to do with that though.
Okay.
Okay.
So some examples, right? So Hoover had a solid foothold in Chicago. I'm not sure how or why
Because the Blues Brothers were.
or what photos of whom doing what unsavory acts, but he had a foothold in
Uh-huh.
Chicago, right? During you brought this up earlier, the 1968 Democratic National Convention in Chicago.
Personal favorites.
You remember that one?
Little pet bit of history.
Yeah.
On my side.
So the investigation following that whole debacle determined that 1 in 6 members in the rioting crowd that resulted in the Chicago police going fucking full blown Gestapo,
Mhm.
1 in 6 were there on Hoover's orders.
Yeah.
They
Which
were-
is fucking nuts because there were a shitload of people there.
They were either active military, FBI agents, or Chicago police informants or officers.
Yeah. So like we hear about like infiltrating during like the tragedies and shit like that
Mhm.
these days. Like that stuff's been there a long time.
Well, the assumption here is that they infiltrated the crowd, fomented a riot, and then the Chicago police swooped in and bashed people's fucking brains in.
Yeah, it worked great.
Uh,
It worked great. The whole thing, like we've got movies and shit
Yeah.
about that now, and like there's all these stories and these lessons and these parables. But you can't forget that at the time it worked fucking gangbusters.
Mhm.
Everybody in the Chicago 7 got convicted. Everybody did jail time. Abby
Yeah.
Hoffman had to fucking go underground for
Mm-hmm.
25 years. Yeah, that's fucking. It worked. It worked. It worked a treat.
So, another example in Chicago is the case of Fred Hampton. Fred Hampton was another civil liberties activist who founded the Rainbow Coalition, right? He was also the deputy of the Chicago Black Panther Party. He was also rather outspoken against the Cook County state attorney at the time,
Mhm.
right? Guy named Edward Hanrahan.
Hanrahan. Yeah.
Hanrahan. So the FBI had an agent in the Chicago branch of the Black Panther Party, right?
Mm.
And this guy drugs Fred Hampton one night, and that happened to be the night that Ed Hanrahan ordered a police raid on Fred Hampton's house. So FBI informant in the Black Panther Party drugs Fred Hampton,
Mhm.
same night that the state DA's office says, we're going to raid his house.
Right.
Coincidence?
No, absolutely not.
So the police decided, the police showed up and they decided, I have a fun idea. Let's do opposite day today. We'll start with the bullets and then we'll let them know we're here, I guess.
Yeah.
Hampton's body was fucking absolutely riddled with bullets.
Yeah. Nowadays we call that Breonna Tailoring something.
One, Jesus Christ. One other, fuck.
Yeah, you didn't like that, did you?
That one.
I did not like that.
That
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
that
History.
That one kept burning
History,
for a while.
yeah.
That wick kept burning. Another person in the house, a guy named Mark Clark, was killed. Several others were injured. Police shot over 100 bullets into the house, and only one shot was fired back. Fred Hampton was 21 years old, and a few years later, when COINTELPRO was dismantled and investigated, it was confirmed that this was an FBI-ordered fucking hit.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Fun.
So if you're
facts about
still
this.
going, everything seems above board, fuck you, turn
Fun-
this off.
It's fun fact that that you guys have talking about those two things in conjunction, the Chicago 7 during the Democratic National Convention
Uh-huh.
and their ensuing trial, and then the murder of Fred Hampton. So Bobby Seale was the national leader of the Black Panther Party.
Yeah.
Was present to do a speech at the Democratic National Convention protest.
Mhm.
Just a speech. He wasn't a part of the organizing or anything like that. But he was there. He wanted to be like, hey, we're uniting.
Yeah,
Showing face at a massive, leftist convention in
Right.
general. So this was at a time that the Democratic National Convention was full of cunts.
Yeah.
Yeah, not to say that it's changed much. But-
If you read like what was going on inside the building, it
Yeah.
was just as fucking crazy as what was going on
bad,
outside
bad
the building.
stuff. But so after these riots happen, Bobby Seale gets arrested, and he gets lumped in with the leaders of the Yippies. Abby Hoffman.
Yeah. The other guy, I can't remember his name.
God damn it, Tom Hagen.
Yeah.
Who's very influential, brilliant activist, and these other guys, these seven guys, they all get arrested and put on trial together for conspiracy, treason, shit like that.
Right.
Bobby Seale is very adamant that he's like, I'm not supposed to fucking be here. This is not my trial. This isn't my case. I'm a Black Panther. I'm not a part of these stoner white kids. Like
Yeah.
these are not my fucking people.
These
Like,
Ivy League.
yeah, it's like
fucking-
I'm a warrior. Like we're carrying
These are
machine guns around the hood
Weekend
these days. Like, yeah.
warriors.
Yeah, exactly. These kids. I mean, like their hearts are in the right place, but they're all fucking.
Right.
Abby Hoffman's a fucking clown.
Yeah.
Like, he's like literally pulling like gags and stunts in the trial. At one point, during the trial, they all come in wearing judges' robes.
Mhm.
And the
Yeah.
judge is like, take those off. And they take them off. They're all wearing police uniforms.
Yeah, I
and
remember that.
It's fucking gags and jokes throughout the whole
yeah.
thing because they're being like,
Because it's a fucking farce.
they're doing the yippie thing. But Bobby Seale doesn't play any of that shit. He's just like, no, listen, I want a separate trial. I want a separate lawyer. I
Right.
want to be in a different involved thing. And he's very vocal about it to the point that the judge is like, you got to stop that or you'll be in contempt. You're going to be in contempt. We'll hold you in contempt.
Mhm.
In a very vitriolic and like, hey, shut the fuck
Right.
up.
Right.
And at one point, somebody comes into the courtroom during a trial and informs Bobby Seale that Fred Hampton's been murdered.
Mm-hmm.
And
Bobby Seale flips the fuck out.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like, I'm in here being detained with these fucking chuckleheads. Well, you guys are out killing my people in the streets.
Mhm.
It's obvious that's what I'm here. Like, that's why you have me tied up like this, so I can't be influential in any of these events. I should be out protesting right now. He flips out. The judge has him taken into the other room, beaten,
Yeah.
then tied to a chair and gagged. And they
Cool.
bring him back into the courtroom and sit him at the table, tied and
Cuffed
gagged.
and gagged, yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and that's-
fucking
This
awful.
is
Yeah.
all happening at the same exact time in Chicago.
Woof. So now we come to one Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Who?
Remember my comment about Hoover having a visceral hatred for anything anti-status quo?
Yes.
His fucking hatred for MLK was like face melting, surface of the sun, white fucking hot.
Yeah.
He is on record a whole bunch saying a whole lot of fucked up shit against MLK, right?
Mhm.
He despised MLK so much that even after King's assassination, for the 3 years that between when King was assassinated and Hoover died, he adamantly fought against any type of memorials to his memory. As a matter of fact, in 1969, a year after King was dead, there were still efforts by the FBI to quote unquote expose him and feed information to opponents just for character assassination. After King was dead, he kept going for 3 years just trying to assassinate MLK's character. Right?
Jesus Christ.
He hated him. But so much that post-mortem, he's trying to go, fuck this guy.
Dude, we still get stuff like that, though. We still get, like, anytime Martin Luther King is brought up, you'll have somebody be like, oh, well, he cheated on his wife a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which he did, which
Well,
is why we
okay,
talk
yeah.
about how people are multifaceted.
Multifaceted humans. Did he also get assassinated
Yeah.
for trying to lead people to a place of freedom and civil rights? Like,
Civil rights. Civil.
Jesus
Just be civil.
Christ.
That's it. Just be civil. So let me not get ahead of myself here. So
Don't get ahead of yourself.
on August 28th, 1963, so we're going back a little bit, right? In celebration of the Emancipation Proclamation, several groups converged on Washington, D.C. for the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. Bob Dylan played there. Joan Baez played there. A bunch of people made a bunch of speeches. And one speaker had a speech that stood out. That's where Martin Luther King did his I Have a Dream speech, right?
You wanna hear a quick little mom anecdote real fast?
Of course.
I don't think
My
we've had any
mom-
mom.
I haven't done a mom story in a little bit.
Do it.
My mom worked with fucking Rosa Parks and a bunch of other
Mhm.
activists in the 60s in Detroit and stuff. You know the story of how Martin Luther King was like walking away from the podium and somebody was like, tell him your dream, Martin. And he turned around and he laid down the I Have a Dream speech.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's like this. It's the way that we permute history to be like this inspiring story
Uh-huh.
that he was actually delivering kind of like a beaten down, like we're not doing so hot with this whole
Right.
civil rights thing sort of story.
Mhm.
And somebody's like, but no, tell him about your dream.
Uh-huh.
And he turns around and he fucking lays this shit down
Mhm.
like fucking like Jay-Z on the mic, just like one shot, no cuts. And well,
Original freestyle.
yeah, my mom likes to tell the story about how she heard that exact speech like a week earlier in Detroit when he was coming through.
They're going to tell me like it was a plant in the audience.
No, it's not a
Yeah,
no.
I mean-
it's like no, but it's like it's not a bad thing that
It's
he
a-
had this incredible
No.
iconic speech. It's just we
Uh,
just love to hear the story of just like the one-off singular moment in history.
Not
you
to
know?
not to sell ourselves out here, but how often do we do stuff like that on this podcast where it's like, yeah, you say this and then I'll say
I don't
that,
know.
and
We've been
then
doing
make
this
a joke.
episode in straight up one shot.
We
Yeah.
haven't.
No
Well,
interruptions.
No
Totally,
interruptions.
nothing
all
happened.
straight through.
Nothing happened at all.
Oh, hey, when you mentioned earlier, what was happening in 1969?
Just now when I said 1960,
Yeah.
After King was dead, there was some memorial they wanted to do for Martin Luther King
Right.
and
Well,
Hoover.
In a previous episode, I had said that the song 1969 by Iggy and the Stooges, 1969, okay?
Oh my God.
I had said previously that it was off the album Funhouse.
Oh my
and
God.
I have a listener correction from some fucking dickhead.
Yeah, we don't fucking
Is it
care.
fucking Dwight?
He wanted me to let everyone know that song 1969 was on the self-titled album, Stooges,
Awesome.
not Funhouse.
Great.
This dickhead will remain unnamed.
It's fucking Dwight.
Are you going to edit that out?
No.
No.
What's up, Dwight?
You should listen to our Patreon, Dwight. You're gonna love that one.
So anyway, like I said, that this March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom in 1963 is where Martin Luther King delivered his I Have a Dream speech. And obviously that march and his speech specifically are credited, maybe not with being solely responsible for ending segregation, but like it added a ton of momentum to that movement.
Yeah, the big public face.
Right. After that speech, Hoover told his assistant director to mark King as a top target for surveillance.
No way.
Yeah, no shit, right? Sullivan at the time wrote, and this is a direct quote from Sullivan's writings, "In the light of King's powerful demagogic speech, we must mark him now, if we have not done so before, as the most dangerous Negro of the future in this nation from the standpoint of communism, the Negro, and national security."
How has no one written a fucking cool science fiction story called The Most Dangerous Negro of the Future? What a title. That's solid.
If
You'd
I
have
recall,
to have a black writer and black director.
Yeah,
on
no,
that
I
one.
can't
You
touch
couldn't get
that
away
one. But
with
The
it.
Most
Yeah.
Dangerous Negro of the Future? That's fucking sick.
Maybe Neil Brennan. He's the only white guy that could get away with that.
You could maybe.
He's like, I did Chappelle Show, dude. Shut up. So immediately after that, Martin Luther King is being bugged at his house. And as his stature grew in the wake of that speech, they start bugging his hotel rooms when he's traveling. And King, in his mission to identify institutions that weren't giving Black Americans a fair shake in like the immediate aftermath of civil rights, which, let's face it, is a pretty long list of places and things. King was calling out the FBI about a lot of things, unaware, as far as we know, that he was like persona non grata, right? King criticized the FBI for its lack of black agents and for
Black Asians?
and for not pursuing highly publicized attacks on the black community perpetuated by the KKK. And those accusations merited a public response from Hoover, who called King, quote, "the most notorious liar in the United States."
Damn.
Publicly said this about Martin Luther King.
That's pretty gnarly just to
Wow.
lay it down on one preacher,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and to King's credit, the FBI didn't look into multiple cases of like racially motivated shit, like lynchings, like Emmett Till, which I better not get a fucking email asking what that is. Fucking, if you don't know the Emmett Till story, Jesus.
Google it, but don't go into images.
Yeah, stop.
Ooh, I'm laying them down today. Damn. I'm bringing the mood down. I'm so sorry.
We're getting a lot of groans.
Well, and like for another example, in 1968, Hoover personally ordered a cease on the federal inquiry into the 1963 16th Street Baptist Church bombing by the KKK. That attack killed 4 girls. 2 years into the FBI's investigation, so from 1963 to 1965, local police and the FBI had identified suspects in the bombing. They had witnesses, which is fucking amazing because you have to believe they're probably black witnesses because it happened at a black church in a black neighborhood. So, you know,
In a segregated country, yes.
Yeah. Well, this is, no, 63. Yeah, this is pre-segregation or pre-integration. You have to believe that this was probably black people stepping forward as witnesses in a court case against KKK members.
Yeah.
That they've now been, you know, investigators have said, look, we're going to need you to get on the stand and testify, right? So they have suspects, they have witnesses, they relay all this information to Hoover, and he orders an end to the case.
Fuck.
So no prosecutions on the 4 suspects came about, even though the evidence was reportedly, quote, so strong that even a white Alabama jury would convict.
Jesus Christ.
Hoover wrote in a memo that a conviction was unlikely and told his staff not to share any of the results with state or federal prosecutors. 3 years later, in 1968, Hoover closed the case with no charges filed and then had all of the files sealed.
Dick.
What a fucking douchebag. Like,
Yeah.
goddamn.
And this is why I said at the top, I didn't want to talk about Hoover too much, but it's impossible to talk about COINTELPRO without, because he is he is COINTELPRO.
Yeah, because
You know what I mean?
he's in his tower, just like, yeah, seal the records.
Yeah. No shit, right?
I speak for the king.
So
Fucking dickhole.
there's another one in a 1965 incident. So there was this incident in 1965 where Klansmen murdered a white civil rights activist named Viola Liuzzo. These guys chased her in a car, fired shots into her car after noticing that her passenger was a young black man. One of the Klansmen was Gary Rowe. You remember Gary Rowe?
Ooh, we were just talking about Gary Rowe.
the best FBI informant in the KKK,
Uh-huh.
he was there.
Yeah.
So in the wake of her murder, the FBI spread rumors that Liuzzo was a member of the Communist Party and had abandoned her children to have sexual relationships with African Americans involved in the civil rights movement. The FBI spread these rumors.
So our previous little estimation of Gary, what was his name?
Gary Rowe.
Gary Rowe, as being somebody who could watch a lynching without pulling a face, seems pretty fucking accurate.
There it is.
Yeah. He could be in a car where a woman's being actively shot at by people in the car and either not intervene or shoot along with them.
And by the way, even if all those rumors were true, right? That doesn't constitute extrajudicial murder, right? I mean, bad mom at worst, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, that
And
doesn't
a lot of fun at best.
that that doesn't negate the wrongdoing on the FBI's part, and it doesn't negate the need for fucking changes, right?
Yeah.
So
And it certainly doesn't negate the federal agent's responsibility to prevent a fucking murder in process.
as the highest law enforcement agency in the land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So FBI records show that Hoover personally communicated these insinuations about Viola Liuzzo to President Johnson. I don't know if he just told him the rumors as if it was like true, or if he told him that he was going to make up these rumors.
Or did he say it somewhere on the lines of like, yeah, our agent was in the car, but don't worry about it. She was having sex with the black man in the car.
Yeah, she left her kids to go have sex with black guys in the civil rights movement. So we don't know if he said, I'm going to make up these rumors, President Johnson, or if he said, these are the facts.
Right.
You know, you presented them like as if they weren't rumors. What we do fucking know is that 3 Klansmen would never be convicted in a federal trial for Liuzzo's murder. Or no, I'm sorry, they would be convicted. I'm sorry. They did convict those guys.
They did convict them?
They did. That's a misspeak on my part. Yes, they did actually get charged and convicted for her murder in December 1965. So
What about Gary Rowe? He get anything? Like negligence in the line of duty or being a fucking twat?
he probably never, he wasn't. Typically, they don't make
Yeah.
informants testify because then you lose that informant.
I hope that guy drank
know what I
himself to death. Haunted by
I hope he fucking drowned himself to death.
haunted by his fucking his bullshit.
I hope he grabbed a couple cinder blocks and just walked into the ocean. So Martin Luther King possibly has a point here vis-a-vis being critical of the fucking FBI. But at any rate, the FBI starts sending King, quote unquote, suicide packets.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how many. There's a couple of different numbers from different sources, but it doesn't matter because we're only going to talk about one, right? In 1964, Dr. King is nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. A couple of days before, he receives a package, and in it is a note and some audio tapes I will now read in its entirety. I'll read the note, and I'll let you decide what it was meant to convey. King, in view of your low-grade, abnormal personal behavior, I will not dignify your name with either a Mr. or a Reverend or a Doctor.
His name was already King.
And your last name calls to mind.
Sorry.
Well, hang on. She addresses it. And your last name calls to mind only the type of king such as King Henry VIII and his countless acts of adultery and immoral conduct lower than that of a beast.
Damn.
King, look into your heart. You know you are a complete fraud and a great liability to all of us Negroes. White people in this country have enough frauds of their own, but I am sure they don't have one at this time that is anywhere near your equal. You are no clergyman, and you know it. I repeat, you are a colossal fraud and an evil, vicious one at that. You could not believe in God and act as you do. Clearly, you don't believe in any personal moral principles. King, like all frauds, your end is approaching. You could have been our greatest leader. You, even at an early age, have turned out to not be a leader, but a dissolute, abnormal, moral imbecile. We will now have to depend on our older leaders like Wilkins, a man of character, and thank God we have others like him. But you are done. Your honorary degrees, your Nobel Prize, what a grim farce, and other awards will not save you. King, I repeat, you are done. No person can overcome facts, not even a fraud like yourself. Lend your sexually psychotic ear to the enclosure. You will find yourself in all your dirt, filth, evil, and moronic talk exposed on the record for all time. I repeat, no person can argue successfully against facts. You are finished. You will find on the record for all time your filthy, dirty, evil companions, male and females, giving expression with you to your hideous abnormalities. and some of them pretend to be ministers of the gospel. Satan could not do more. What incredible evilness. It is all there on the record. Your sexual orgies. Listen to yourself, you filthy abnormal animal. You are on the record. You have been on the record. All your adulterous acts, your sexual orgies extending far into the past. This one is but a tiny example. You will understand this. Yes, from your various evil playmates on the East Coast to, redacted, and others on the West Coast, and outside the country, you are on the record, King. You are done. The American public, the church organizations that have been helping Protestant, Catholic, and Jews will know you for what you are, an evil, abnormal beast. So will others who have backed you. You are done. King, there is only one thing left for you to do. You know what it is. You have just 34 days in which to do this. This exact number has been selected for a specific reason. It has definite practical significance. Significant, not significance. You are done. There is but one way for you. You better take it before your filthy, abnormal, fraudulent self is bared to the nation.
God damn. That was the clumsiest attempt to seem like a black person.
Dude, that was this is when we were
that
talking
was
about
some Ben Shapiro ass verbiage in there.
Yeah.
You
When-
filthy abnormal animal. That's a
Beast.
racist
Yeah.
fucking 50s white person
that
right there.
part I didn't know. Like when you brought up COINTELPRO,
Uh-huh.
like I knew a little bit. I knew that they did this, that
Yeah.
they sent these letters to King. I had no idea that they were framing it as if it was a black
They
person
sent
sending it.
they sent the letters with tapes of his hotel rooms bugged,
Yeah.
where he would, bring ladies.
He was boinking broads.
Yeah, he was,
Like the
so-
fuck?
So they were using that to try and sink him. And the verbiage in that last paragraph, there's only one thing to do. By the way, the 34 days was before he received his Nobel Peace Prize, right?
Okay.
So they were saying,
fucking kill yourself before
kill
you
yourself
accept
before
a
you
Nobel
get on
Peace
that
Prize.
stage to accept this prize.
Because
Yeah.
because they knew that it would just make him more powerful than ever. Yeah,
Exactly.
That's a no-brainer. This is a fucking Martin Luther King wasn't an idiot.
Yeah.
You know, like
So the FBI later argued,
Ben Shapiro level.
the FBI later argued that the message meant
you can't escape facts. Sorry,
Fucking wormy little
no man can
shit.
escape facts.
the FBI
I'm
argued.
leaving that in. Fuck Ben Shapiro.
God damn it.
I'm sorry. Go on.
You're
I'll
right.
stop.
Fuck Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, what a
you know what?
fucking- what a joke.
I will pause to say fuck Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
I mean, like, again, we try not to get political on this show. Not only because it alienates people, but also I feel personally like this is a nice escape from that. Like,
yeah, also
for us and hopefully for listeners too, is to like not like there's so much bullshit nonstop politically that it's nice to just fucking be able to like listen to something that's
Yeah.
not political.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. For
You know
and
what I mean?
also you
And-
can get a
and-
pretty good fucking
And it may be,
smattering.
I mean,
of,
this
of
is
our,
this is political, but this is
Yeah.
political 50 years ago.
You can
60
get you
years
can get a
ago.
smattering of our fucking political leanings probably pretty easy from listening to our opinions on history. You know,
True. In regards to Ben Shapiro,
except for Drew, he
I'm radical. I won't tell you which way.
I love how we're always dogging
he's
Drew.
fucking just ripping on skateboards all the time. He's super rad.
Fucking
Yeah, that
cow-
kind of radical.
Cowabunga,
90s
dude.
radical.
Cowabunga.
Anybody younger than us would not get that. In regards to
90
Ben
kids will know.
Shapiro, I could agree with everything he said and still not like him. He's just a smarmy little shit. So
Yeah.
fuck him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like the reason I said that is just like the condescending tone that letter is written in
Right.
is so specifically like you can't argue with the
Right,
facts, you
right.
fucking animal. You know, and it's just
And
so
the funny thing
smarmy.
is, the funny thing is that Ben Shapiro doesn't spit facts. He just talks real fast in a condescending tone.
Yeah.
And doesn't
It's-
let
it's
you
the
get a
tone,
word
it's
in
the
edgewise.
condescending
just like,
tone.
Like he just bop, 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 bop. He hits you with so many things so fast that it's just
Yeah.
like, okay,
He's the
okay,
Kendrick
okay.
Lamar of being a fucking douchebag white supremacist.
Oh God, he's a race traitor.
Damn.
Shapiro, he's
Said it.
Jewish.
I know.
He's
He's
very
an
Jewish.
anti-Semitic Jew.
Yeah, he sucks. He sucks.
All right.
We here at Delete Everything are in agreement. Ben Shapiro sucks. Moving on.
Yeah, let's finish this episode. So as I was saying, the FBI later argued that the message meant to inspire Martin Luther King to quit the SCLC and let someone else take over.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
We didn't want him to kill himself.
What was
We
in
just
the was in the
think-
package? Razor blades, fucking like a
Fucking cyanide pill.
Yeah, exactly. A bottle of fucking vodka, and like 800
a
Tylenol.
22 with one bullet in it.
I mean, these are just gifts. These are just gifts, hopefully to
inspire you, Dr.
inspire
King.
him to leave.
Yeah. This is literally what they said in 2014 was when COINTELPRO was declassified, right? 2014.
So
This
everybody
note
who
came-
did this was dead.
This note came stapled to a kilo of heroin.
But yeah, that's effectively the Cliff Notes of COINTELPRO. We're not done with it entirely because the big question is why? Why did this exist in the first place?
Cui bono? Who
How the
benefits?
fuck did it go on for so long? 15 years, 1956 to 1971, right? And one of the big reasons was that Hoover ran it apolitically, right? He didn't give a shit about politics from a two-party system as far as we know. He never joined a political party. He didn't talk about politics. And he would tell people that he wasn't political.
We
if-
here
if
at
they
Delete
asked.
Everything are modeling ourselves after J. Edgar Hoover.
He was interested in power and in his own personal politics, right? And so through 6 presidents that he was spying domestically for, right, in the COINTELPRO years, or just prior to, right? It started with FDR. So the 6 presidents that he was spying domestically for, he could always leverage them into backing the continuation of this illegal surveillance because he was willing to snap them off a little fucking piece. You know what I mean?
You can play the game.
Hoover could have been president. Like this is talked about and debated about quite frequently. He could have been president, but the general idea is
he
that
would be bound by the court of public opinion at that point.
well,
Yeah.
the general idea is that he liked the power that he wielded, right? He liked working from the shadows.
He liked having social activists assassinated before lunch and then going home to walk his dogs and have some tea with his boyfriend.
And fuck his boyfriend. Either way, would you like to hear some of the presidents that requested his particular set of skills and the specifics of who they wanted dirt on?
Well, he sat through like 11 presidents, some shit, right? Didn't we say?
Something like that. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it was 11, 10, 11.
Fuck.
That's
Yeah.
fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
please.
like all
I would
of
like
them.
to hear.
I'm gonna take some stabs at it though. So after Johnson, I'm gonna say definitely Reagan. Bush.
No, he was dead by Reagan.
Was he dead by Reagan?
He died in the Nixon years.
Okay, then Nixon.
He died a month before. We talked about this at the top. A month before Watergate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guy, he would have loved that.
Yeah.
Gone too soon. All right, so Nixon definitely, loved his shit. FDR, everybody,
Okay. So
I'm gonna say all of them.
all the presidents.
they all did. Everybody
Yeah.
that he domestically spied for had a little fucking honey in the pot, right?
Uh-huh.
President Roosevelt from 33 to 45 asked the FBI to put in its files the names of citizens sending telegrams to the White House opposing his national defense policy and supporting Colonel Charles Lindbergh of Lindbergh Baby fame.
We didn't talk about Lindbergh Baby, but that looms large in the Hoover legend.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll do a Lindbergh Baby.
I don't know if we want to do a whole
Short. We can
Well,
do
you
a
know
short
what?
episode.
You know what we could do actually? We're gonna do Pinkertons eventually, right?
Yes, we will.
We could
could
end
do
Pinkertons with Lindbergh Baby because that's like right at the end of that shit.
Yep. President Truman, 45 to 53, received inside information on former Roosevelt aides' efforts to influence Truman's appointments,
So Truman's getting info about former presidents.
about the dead president that he.
like hey, J. Edgar, he was fucking with me,
Yeah,
right?
the
He was
dead
fucking
the
with me.
dead president
You can
who
tell
was
me.
who was his running mate. He had a former aide
Running
trying
mate's funny.
to influence because
of the
he
legs.
couldn't walk. Yeah, I know. I got it.
Polio, a completely unavoidable case of polio.
Making a comeback.
It just happens. It's unavoidable.
Nothing you can do about it.
Nothing you can do about
Jesus Christ.
things like polio.
That's not political. I'm just saying.
Truman also
It's
had
the will of God.
God damn it. Truman also, we're so close to the end, guys. We have
You
a
say that to
whole
all the girls.
we have a whole episode to record after this. So he also had Hoover spying on labor union negotiating plans and the publishing plans of journalists. This was all Harry Truman. President Eisenhower, 53 to 61, received reports on purely political and social contracts with foreign officials by Bernard Baruch, Eleanor Roosevelt, who was still an activist at this point,
and a badass.
and Supreme Court Justice William O. Douglas, who was a kind of liberal justice at the time. The Kennedy administration had the FBI wiretap a congressional staff member, 3 executive officials, a lobbyist, and a Washington law firm. U.S. Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy received the fruits of an FBI wiretap on MLK Jr. And an electronic listening device targeting a congressman, both of which yielded information of a political nature. President Johnson and Jumbo asked the FBI to conduct.
You know, the B stands for balls.
Jumbo Balls Johnson.
Big Dick Johnson.
So, okay.
It's funny that Johnson's a euphemism for wiener, too. That's good.
LBJ asked the FBI to conduct name checks of his critics and members of the staff of his 1964 opponent, Barry Goldwater. He also requested purely political intelligence on his critics in the Senate and received extensive intelligence reports on political activity at the 1964 Democratic Convention from FBI electronic surveillance. That isn't the bad one. 68 was the bad one. 64, he got FBI electronic surveillance from that Democratic
Mario
Convention.
64. Yeah.
Exactly. And then lastly, President Nixon authorized a program of wiretaps which produced for the White House purely political or personal information unrelated to national security, including information about a Supreme Court justice. It didn't tell me who.
Well, you know, when the president does it, it's not illegal.
Right. In addition to basically anyone organizing civil rights protests and marches, Malcolm X.
Sorry.
Malcolm X, a ton of others in the Black Panther Party, CPUSA, anti-Vietnam organizers, the American Indian Movement, Chicano and Mexican-American groups like the Brown Berets and the United Farm Workers, Puerto Rican independence groups such as the Young Lords and Puerto Rican Socialist Party, actors like Charlie Chaplin, like we talked about before, Gene Seberg, John Lennon, the list fucking goes on. The program was secret until March 8th, 1971, when the Citizens Commission to investigate the FBI burglarized the FBI office in Media, Pennsylvania. Did you know that's how this all came out?
No.
No.
A group of civilians, I believe eight people, during the Muhammad Ali Joe Frazier fight in 1971. You remember the fight of the century?
Yeah.
Right? Joe Frazier and Ali, right?
The first one, before the Thrill of Manila.
Yeah, 8 private citizens that called themselves the Citizens Commission to investigate the FBI burglarized an FBI office,
Name's a bit on the nose.
took a bunch of fucking files, and slowly leaked them to the media.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
They just were passing
Then they kept finding them dead
passing
in,
material to
in
the news
dumpsters
agency.
under
Yeah.
overpasses.
So yeah, they used the buzz around the fight to like I'm guessing that wherever the fight was going on was near the FBI office, so there was so much fucking activity going on. They used that as cover to go into this fucking building and take all this shit. Incidentally, Muhammad Ali also a COINTELPRO target because he had joined the Nation of Islam and was part of the anti-war movement.
Yeah, he's close with Martin Luther King and Louis Farrakhan. Yeah.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is COINTELPRO.
Well,
So why? I mean,
cui bono? Who benefits?
J. Edgar Hoover.
Just J. Edgar
Just
Hoover's
the
fucking
reason-
boner.
little pet
He's
project.
just fucking yes.
The
Just
reason
sitting in his tower
the
jacking
reason
off.
he was there, the reason he was there for 10, 11 different presidencies was because he was also collecting info on anybody who could possibly boot him or supplant him. He had dossiers on everybody. And so if anybody came around talking shit about him needing to step down and let somebody else in, he was like, "Oh, well, hey, come here. Let me talk to you about something real
I
quick."
think my final thoughts on J. Edgar Hoover, and really anyone, even in contemporary times and past times, that acts like this is like avarice-ridden, just kind of cruel mentality of power.
Mm.
You know, I've never really felt any sort of, I'm a pretty empathetic guy, but like I don't feel anything human about.
It's hard to
people
feel
like
empathy
That. Like
for-
I don't
for-
have. I mean, like Ben Shapiro, right? Like it's just an example. Like you look at somebody like that who is just such cruel opinions and such like, obviously had he the power would do such terrible things to people just in the name of whatever arbitrary sort of fucking, deontological or earthly fucking thought process he's got. You look at that, I don't understand how people can live that way
Well, him, I don't give a fuck about because he doesn't have any power. You
I'm
know what
only,
I mean?
I'm only
Like,
using
he's
him
a-
as an
right,
example because
he's
everyone
just-
knows that smarmy fucking rat fuck.
He's just a guy with an
you know?
opinion, right?
Yeah.
And listen, you have a First Amendment right to say whatever the fuck you want, and nobody can take
Right.
that away from you.
Well,
And
I'm
I'll
thinking like,
punch somebody in the face if they say that right should get taken away.
but
So
people of that ilk, like Hoover, are through every government throughout history.
that's
you know,
the thing
really.
is having zero empathy does not lend itself to being in a position of power where you are in charge of at least any aspect of an entire country.
They always end
of
up
people.
there, though. Like
I know.
the cruelest, least empathetic people that you'll ever see on Earth are always in places of power, and that's fucking crazy. But I mean, I guess
because
like,
that's what they crave.
because it's what you crave, and it's you can step on.
And if
anyone
you
to get
have
there.
and if you have no empathy, and if your ambition is just I need to be in this position, then who fucking cares?
It just makes
who
me
cares
crazy,
who
though,
gets
'cause-
hurt? Who cares whose lives are destroyed? Who fucking cares?
as
I'm getting what I want.
And they end up there because they'll, I think, more likely play dirty to get there.
Yeah, of
than
course.
somebody
100%.
who is
Played-
empathetic.
I don't know that he played dirty to get there because he was so fucking young. He was fresh out of college. He was 22. How old was he? Like early
yeah,
20s.
something like that.
No, I'm just saying, like, that
He
notion
certainly
in general.
he
that
certainly played dirty to
cruel
stay
dicks
there.
Yeah.
He played
run-
dirty to stay there
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
stayed there for his whole life.
But people like that, man, like maybe this is just me, but I can't help but think about the world in terms of like eventually you're gonna fucking die. And none of this shit is going to be good for you anymore. Like it's
Yeah.
no longer like you can do all these terrible, terrible things and affect these hundreds and thousands of people and affect the course of history and all that. And at the end of it, what do you get? Nothing. You don't even get a fucking cookie. You're dead.
I don't
No.
think people like that think that way.
Why
though.
not? Like that's
Because-
what makes me crazy. Is like
Yeah.
that's where I get the uncanny
It's-
valley effect of like the fucking Cro-Magnon caveman
Yeah.
thing. Like I look at somebody like that, and like, don't you get it? Like this is temporary. Why
don't-
would
I-
you be this?
I think if you're that way, like what you're saying, just have a complete inability to give a shit about anybody else. It's not it would never occur to you because it's all about maximizing what you have while you have it.
It's toxic individualism.
Doesn't that just come off as a
It is
mental illness? though?
Toxic individualism.
I think so.
I mean, it's a good point, but it is not caring about anything or anyone else, including the fucking law and the Constitution of the United States in this case, to get what you want and to achieve your goals.
It's
That's
just
it.
crazy. Well, you look at all these people; it's always the exact same path, and there's never a slowing point. There's never like, it's always video game logic. It's like I'm just going to max out my levels and
Yeah.
keep going until
Just
the game's
grinding,
just
baby.
over.
I'm just grinding.
But like, yeah, but it's always just grinding. It's never like you know, like look at like not to get political again, but like look at like Donald Trump, right? Like you don't see him take vacations and relax on the beach and shit. Like he's just always doing the Donald Trump thing. He's constantly moving forward in that.
But he's playing golf all the fucking
Yeah,
time.
but
What are you
that's
talking about?
just fucking golf. It's dumb. It's mindless.
yeah,
it's
he's
nothing.
playing this on the same. He's playing on his courses.
He's
playing
not
the same
like
courses
playing
he's
with
played
his.
100 times.
He's not playing with his grandkids on the beach and shit. Like
Yeah.
he's just fucking doing the same by rote. Like, and you know, in
Yeah.
his head, he's like, after this, I'll get back to accruing more power. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's fucking mental illness. That's insane. Like, how are these people have to be so forward thinking in terms of accruing power? But their forward thinking just doesn't stop. It doesn't get to a
Yeah.
point where they're like, oh, and then I die.
Well, and it's foreign thinking, foreign thinking. It's
Yes. Oh, yeah.
forward thinking in a way that is entirely foreign to me because I don't have that. I don't have that in my brain.
It's nuts.
Like,
I'm 36 years old. I'm already thinking like, yeah, I got maybe like 20 or 30 more years. I'll probably die. You know, like what? How?
maybe it's a fault on my part, but I care a whole lot about my family and my kids.
Yeah,
and
you have to.
quality time with my parents before they
The
pass.
only
and-
reason to exist is to be
and-
empathetic. Like
yeah.
otherwise, what is this?
well,
If you don't feel the human
if you
connection
don't
with
have
others-
empathy, though, then who cares about community? If you
That's what
have
I'm
no
saying. It's like-
empathy, then how can you care about community?
But what is that? How are we supposed to evolve as a people if you're not willing to contribute to the overall evolution of people?
That's a good question.
It's a diseased portion of our genome that should be
Agreed.
excised.
It's a
And
it's a
shot by
diseased
the
portion
dumpster.
of our culture.
Wait, what did you
because
say?
Nothing.
it's a diseased portion of our culture because not every culture thinks that way either. So
Right.
I think we got to give credit where credit's due. Is that
I think individuals like that will arise.
yeah? This is
Anywhere.
a culture that yes, you're not wrong.
But-
there are always people in any culture that crave power above all else.
Where we are, it is
But
actively
how it's
encouraged.
evolved-
In fact, in Middle Earth, I believe it was just the race of men in general.
how it evolved in our country is much like how it evolved in the race of men in Middle Earth. Is that over time, the people who did whatever they needed to do at the expense of anyone else, kept finding themselves in that position. And so then if you want that power, who are your role models? Other people who did the same fucked up shit to end up in that position.
Yeah.
And so
Morgoth.
another Ouroboros
Sauron.
shows up out of the fucking blue. You know what I mean?
You know, it's the elf orc pipeline is what it is, you know?
All right. Well,
In conclusion, fuck Ben Shapiro.
thank you guys. Thank you guys for listening. If you like the show, best way to tell us is get on whatever you're listening to. Give us 5 stars. Leave us a rating. Leave us a comment on Spotify.
Yeah, I'm sorry we just outed ourselves as libs so hard. With that empathy talk.
I mean, you know what? Here's the thing is that I don't even like being pigeonholed like that because I'm not liberal with everything. Socially, most things. There are other things that I'm like, maybe that's too far.
I'm liberal with my arts. I really like poetry, design.
We made a decision a year ago to never expose our politics, and here we are. Anyway,
I didn't expose shit.
You did.
I just said I like empathy.
That's true.
And didn't like one cunt.
Anywho.
These days kind of outs me. But.
If you want to send us a message, deleteeverythingpodcast@gmail.com. We also have an Instagram. You should join. You should follow us on Instagram. You get to see all the fun photos from this episode and all the others that you may have liked. If that's not enough for you, if you want to support the show even more, join Patreon. I feel like we haven't been selling our Patreon enough. Our Patreon is absolutely the parts that you hear where we just go on crazy rants and just laugh hysterically. That's our Patreon.
I think the whole thing.
There's no topic that ever gets. We always come in with a topic.
We have a thriving Patreon community. Okay, we've got Mike.
There's Mike.
There's Mike. Don't forget Mike.
Hey, to our credit, we got all the way through the last one. Like we went on
topic,
tangents,
topic.
but we got through it.
Hey.
That is true. That is true. We have very few that we've stuck to the topic through the whole thing, but either way, they're not super info heavy like this. They're a little bit more like just listen and laugh. They're usually about 40-ish minutes.
Yeah, and I think
from
that
35, 45
we got like
minutes.
15 episodes up now, so like
I think 11, 12.
No, we're the last one was 15. The one that I just did will be 16.
Wow.
Yeah, so I mean, there's some content on there. Yeah,
and
it's fucking pretty fun.
And it's fun.
There's some funny shit on there.
Listen to Ice Cream Barge first.
Oh wow, Ice Cream Barge is the most. I don't know.
What was the one with?
Was there like a methane leak in here that day, or what was going on?
The one about the penis museum. Which one is that?
Pickled Penis.
Pickled Penis. Pickled Penis is good.
Yeah.
The
one that's gonna drop this week coming up. Well, actually, it'll already be dropped by the time you hear this.
Mm-hmm.
Is banned songs.
Mm-hmm.
Post 9/11 banned songs.
BANNED, not just songs by bands.
Band songs.
We started with just the first song, which I believe is called
Anywho, that's those are all the ways. Those are all the ways if you love us to show us that love. And until next week, bye.
Bye.
Hacked into your living room, poisoning the minds of your children